And the Panthers fall to our New Orleans Saints at home. The bank got robbed.
So I'm getting why you're doing this now, because if you celebrate your team, that means you don't have to talk about your boy on the other side who did not look good.
Bryce stinks.
Yeah.
Bryce stinks. That was atrocious.
Rico Dowdle is the offense. When Rico ain't feeling well, they don't seem to know what to do.
I mean, I got to tell you, I would love to be able to tell you, because I again, Rob Brown has many things, but unbiased is one of them, as you can tell. So I got to say, is
that new gear? Or is that old gear?
No, this is old gear. I've been carrying this around for. I just had a reason to wear it for a damn year.
I don't remember seeing that hat before.
The hat's not new. It just because it's majoritively white, like it can only be worked into certain rotations. But I had to work it in today, though, because we are literally top to bottom.
You can't see it on the camera. You got to bring that up and hold it steady for a second.
We are literally top to bottom, as I have broken out the Nike Air Pegasus New Orleans Saints edition.
Wow.
Down to the toe tag with the established 1967 logo and everything.
I don't know why that's important, but I guess that's when the team was formed.
Yes,
1967. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Right.
November 1st, 1967.
How soon was it before they were
Saints Day?
The Aints?
I believe it was like November 2nd, 1967.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Listen, I sat here on Friday with our boy Rashad Beard, who I love dearly, and Rashad, just in case this happens to come across your social media at any point. Yes, better be here on Friday, fella. You better show up. None of this. Sorry, Rob, I'm a little sick. Oh no, sorry, Rob. All of a sudden, my kids have a very specific thing that they have to do on Friday morning. I can't. Rashad, you better show up, because I sat here and I listened to the jokes and I listened to the bleep talk and I listened to everything. And then my boys came up into your crib. I'm a little mad at myself, to be honest with you. I'm a little mad at myself because I said to myself last week, as I talked about on the show.
Zach wants to know if you have socks on.
I do have socks on. As a matter of fact.
Yeah, but are they Saints socks?
No, they are not. But let me tell you why.
Are you rocking the underoos?
Let me tell you why. No, I do not own any Saints undies.
Okay. Right.
I can say that for certain. I do have a
Christmas
pair.
Is coming, people. I'm just saying.
Hey, listen, I'm not above it. Congratulations, wife. I'm taking you to football town tonight too. Let me just throw out there. I actually do have a pair of Saints no-see. I'm a no-see sock guy. You don't see I'm a under the ankle cut sock guy. My socks are always covered by the shoes. That's my go-to. So I didn't go to that game. It is the first Saints at Panthers game since I moved here that I have not attended. That included in 2020 in the COVID year. I went to that game on a press pass just so I could be in the building. I have been in 2020, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I did not go this year. And I didn't go this year.
You can't go any other time now. Because according to Superstition, because you didn't go, they won.
Amigo, I'm like 3-1. I'm like 3-1 at Saints at Panthers games. The Saints, I have been not jokingly
have to go
calling.
Find Amigo.
I have not jokingly, but not jokingly been calling Bank of America Superdome North. We've done well. That's not perfect, but we've done well. So I didn't go to this game, despite the fact that I've gone every year. And I didn't go to this game for a few reasons. I didn't go to this game first and foremost because not this weekend upcoming, but next weekend, the wifey and I, along with a couple of friends from here that have never been, they were like, hey, we want to go down to New Orleans. Do y'all want to go with us for a little vacay? And one of her best friend from here and her husband, who has become a dear friend of mine, are Falcons fans. And they're like, we want to go down. And also the weekend we were looking at going is Falcons at Saints. Do you guys want to go to that game? And so the wife was like, well, we were talking about going Saints Panthers. Do we want to go down to that one instead? And I was like, yeah, I'm always going to pick. If the wife says, do you want to go to a game at the Superdome? You're damn right I want to go to a game at the Superdome. So Not this weekend, but next weekend, we'll be going down to Falcons at Saints. Based on what I'm seeing out of Atlanta, hell, maybe we got a chance.
I was going to say now you're thinking, hey,
maybe we got a chance. So we're like, all right.
Does a couple you're going with, do they handle losses better than you do?
Yeah, they're like they're fans, but like it's not going to ruin their weekend, right? So we bought the plane tickets for fingers crossed we're flying down.
I was going to say, sure about that?
Fingers crossed we're flying down. Hey, politicians, get your act together and figure it out.
I thought things opened up yesterday. Quite
the opposite. Wrong. They are literally shutting down flights out of Charlotte.
No. I mean, I thought the government opened back up. No. Maybe I misread something.
You did. So, in fact, they're shutting more things down, and that includes multitudes of flights because they ain't got the ATC personnel. But that's for a different show.
Well, you can leave a little bit earlier and just drive, I guess.
No, the wife will not. I mean, I will. The wife does not make 8+ hour car trips.
Rent a Winnebago.
So, with that being said, the thought is we're going to that game. A, B, I'm going to keep it a buck. I also thought we were going to get our asses handed to us this weekend by a team that went to Lambeau and got the win over the Packers. I did not see a win coming. And C, because they got the win over the Packers, what I anticipated happening, which was ticket prices being not bad, we were looking at, to go to that Panthers game, we were looking at $75+ a ticket to sit up in the top of the 500s. And I'll do that at the Dome, but I'm like, do I want to go to BOA and sit up in the nosebleeds for after fees and all that, $100 a ticket? I was like, nah, I don't really know about that. So we decided to meet a couple of friends of ours that live in Charlotte who were like, not football fans. We're like, why don't y'all meet us? We'll go to Asheville. We'll watch the game in Asheville. We'll go to one of my favorite breweries. We'll watch the game in Asheville. We'll hang out. And that's what we did. So we decided not to go. And now I'm real mad at me. Now I'm real mad that I didn't just suck it up and go to that game because that would have been fun for me. So what the hell happened? A few things. Number one, I do have to say, I am not losing. I have lost steam on the Bryce train. And I have said a multitude of times, Rashad Beard has agreed with this. The role of Bryce Young is game manager, which is fine. There's been a lot of really good quarterbacks who are game managers. The role of BY has been game manager. And I thought he's been playing that role well enough. They have had 4 consecutive Bryce Young starts, including a road win at Green Bay. You thought, all right, like they're pointed in the right direction. It's going fine. And then yesterday happened. You opened up with a long drive for a touchdown. I was sitting in Nashville like, all right, here we go. Here we go. I guess this is what we're going to do. And then it was like punt, 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 interception, punt, block, field goal, punt, punt. Not ideal. I think there's a lot that went wrong. I think the first thing you saw was the Saints were bringing extras to get pressure on Bryce Young. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, and again, I'm not saying that this is the out to defend Bryce Young because Bryce Young was bad yesterday, objectively bad yesterday. But it went back to, and this feels like it was a change from the past few weeks. It went back to, man, outside of McMillan and Sanders, there's really nothing cooking as far as guys who can help BY out. Jalen Coker had 3 grabs in that game. Rico had 3 out of the backfield, which tells me more that nobody else is finding ways to get open. Xavier Legette got targeted 1 time. Mitchell Evans got targeted 1 time. Chuba Hubbard targeted 1 time. Jalen Coker targeted 4. Jatavion Sanders 5. McMillan 8. He snagged it 5 times for 60 yards, including a 26-yarder that did not score.
They're also the balls were batted down a bunch at the line, and I think we know why that is. And
no, because I saw one that you were talking about, and my immediate thought, in fact, I said it to Courtney, was Lonzo's going to say that's because he's short and not because Mario Davis just jumped 8 feet in the air.
By the way, that happens to shorter quarterbacks all over the league, not just Bryce Young. It happens to anyone who's 6'2" or shorter. It happens because those defensive linemen are like 6'7", and they jump and they're like 10 feet tall. So, but it does. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I guarantee you that There are more batted down balls on shorter quarterbacks. It's just life. He looked a little lost yesterday. He was getting beat up, by the way, because the offensive line wasn't blocking very well, and he didn't look good. And it looked like here's the formula going forward: stop Rico Dowdle. Although it wasn't a healthy Rico Dowdle. A healthy Rico Dowdle, who knows what happens? Maybe he opens up other things, which is what he's been doing because of when he runs, he pops big time yards, and he couldn't do it yesterday. And we knew he was hurt coming into it anyway. So going forward, the Panthers may not win another game if Dowdle doesn't get healthy.
So 2 weeks ago, going into the trade deadline, I said one of the reasons that, although I think there's a chance Chuba Hubbard may be a trade piece if New England wants him as much as it was reported that New England wants him, and if they were willing to make a good offer for Chuba Hubbard, that would be on the table. The question mark about that would be, and we talked about this, the question mark about that would be, can you trust Rico Dowdle to stay healthy the rest of the year? And the answer was no. Like, the answer was no. In fact, I pointed out that was a massive contention for mine. Was I don't know if I trust him to stay healthy, because the guy is, and I was going to say, like, no offense, but no, it's not offense. Like, this is what it is. The guy's entire career is injuries. It was injuries at South Carolina. It was injuries at Dallas. Yes, I know he was a 1,000-yard rusher last year, but it was injuries at Dallas. I am of some level of belief, I guess, that a large part of the reason that he is not with Dallas this year was because of the fact that they did not trust the injury concerns. Like, they just didn't trust the injuries, and I think that's fair. But put that aside for a minute. I would make a few points about this first and foremost. One of the points that I would make about this, to me, one of the points that I would make about this is the fact that, as Lonzo pointed out, the offensive line was not good in this game. New Orleans was very much attacking the offensive line, a lot of different looks, a lot of different pressures coming from different places, which I had not seen a lot of that out of this team so far, which is why they had like the 31st. And this is part of why I am going to some degree hammer on Carolina today, because this team, New Orleans, did come into this game with the 31st ranked defense in the National Football League. Like, it's not a good defense. And I don't want anybody pretending that it suddenly is. That's part of the reason the Panthers are going to take a beating on the show today. That was not good. I knew immediately there was going to be at least one Bryce Young is short reference. Yes, obviously, shorter quarterbacks have balls batted down more often than taller quarterbacks. Like, yes, that's how that works. But I was also watching in spots where New Orleans was getting pressure with 4. And what that meant was that they were able to leave 2 linebackers backing off the line of scrimmage. Part of the way that you protect shorter quarterbacks like Bryce Young is to ensure that they are not getting pressured by 4 enough, meaning that a 5th has to come up to the line, and you leave passing lanes without linebackers who can sit one level deep and just go full vert whenever your short quarterback throws the football. They weren't doing that. So guys like Demario Davis were able to stand 2-3 yards back off the center, off the line of scrimmage, and just wait and go full vert. Like, I don't know that friggin' Brady wasn't getting balls batted down by that defense yesterday, of which there were like 2 or 3. I also don't want to pretend this is like a thing that was happening throughout the entire game. Like, it happened 2 or 3 times. So there was that. There was the problem that Tyler Shuck was throwing the football well. Like, Tyler Shuck suddenly stepped up. When I got Chris Olave, and I've been the harshest criticizer. I've been the biggest critic.
Daggum criticizer over there.
Of Chris Olave all season long. But when I've got Olave making one-handed toe tap catches down the sideline, like, you're not winning that game.
It is the Buckeye way. That's what they do.
No, that dude has sucked all season long.
It's the Buckeye
all
way.
season long.
Well,
maybe he
needed the right quarterback.
I mean, maybe so.
It could be.
The guy has looked checked out all season long. That was the first game that it was like, oh, there he is. That's the guy that they told me they had and didn't trade him out.
Buckeye credit. That's fine.
It has nothing to do with that. I could give a damn about where you went to college when you're on my NFL team. I don't care. If you're a Florida Gator and you show up to my team and you kick a bunch of ass, that's my dog.
That's a little
That's my guy. It's absolutely not.
That's far-fetched.
It's absolutely not.
No, I mean that a Florida Gator would show up and do all that.
Alex Anzalone, before he got to Detroit, was a New Orleans Saint. And I was his biggest fan when he was in New Orleans. He's a Gator. I was the biggest Anzalone. I called him Thor. For years, I loved Anzalone. I was furious when we moved Anzalone, and then he goes up to Detroit, and he helps turn that team into that team. I don't give a damn about your college experience when you're an NFL player anymore. I don't care. To me, the NFL is bigger than college. It just is. So, with all that being said, I am happy about the win for New Orleans. But we are obviously going to talk about it from the Panther perspective. And part of the reason we are going to talk about it from the Panthers perspective is because I went from last week saying, oh, damn, this team is in a position to make a run to win this division to, nah, there's no chance. That you can't lose. You can't. It's not just that you lost that game. It's that you made a 1-8 football team look relevant. Like you made the Saints look relevant. We suck, dude. Like I'm having my fun today. I'm kitted out top to bottom. But you made us look relevant and we stink. So there's a lot to break down. There's a lot to talk about. The defense was unimpressive. Offensively, it was a joke. I'm at a point now where I'm not like, it's not I'm done with Bryce Young, but it's very much, I got a lot of question marks that I feel like we need to ask today about Bryce Young. And I think that's very fair to say. All right. We're going to talk a lot about that. We got to get to college football. By God, Indiana broke Gus Johnson. And also, as Zach said, can we all agree Gus Johnson had the greatest play-by-play call when Indiana wide receiver made the up? No, we can't. No, we can't.
I didn't hear it because I was watching Ohio State. So I did not hear it. So
I will play it.
Okay, so this will be my first time hearing it.
I will play it because I have to tell you. In fact, I had this conversation with a buddy of mine, Jonathan. Gus Johnson lost me as a play-by-play guy on that caller. I always thought this is the most electrifying play-by-play caller in America. And on that call, I was like, nope, this is not it. This is not it. So we'll talk about that.
So it's bad. I thought it was.
Everybody else seems to think it was good. I thought it was trash.
Okay.
I think Gus lost his aura in that moment. All right, we got a lot to get to. Stick around. AP Top 25 reactions and more, all coming up on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, quick live coming back. Good morning. Zach, Joe, who else is up in there? Everybody, y'all stay right there. We'll be right back.
I'm going to send that to you.
The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you. Phone lines open 844-326-3663. FANFONE 844-326-3663. If you would like to be a part of the radio program, looking for your thoughts on the Panthers game over the weekend. New Orleans gets the win over Carolina. 17-7 is your final.
One more thought from me. They didn't lose any ground.
You did lose ground. You absolutely did lose ground. The Buccaneers lost yesterday.
Right. No, what I'm saying is it's all the same as it was the week before. The only one who gained in this entire thing are the Saints. Because Falcons lost.
Oh, you mean overall?
Yeah. I mean in the South, you didn't gain, but you didn't lose either.
Yeah,
because you're in the same position because everybody lost.
But the thought is, at the end of the day, there's only so much racetrack, and for an opportunity to win the division, you have to make the most of opportunities.
That division has been won with like 7 and 9. So
I agree with you.
You just got to be one better than you could still suck.
But you only have so many to do that.
True.
If you won yesterday.
But we're only halfway through the season, right?
The Buccaneers are at 6 wins. So if this is a 9-win division, you're running out of runway.
The Buccaneers are at 6 wins. The Panthers are at 5 wins.
Right.
So it's only one game, dude.
Okay. But again, if you have a 500-mile race, you are talking about missing out on an opportunity on lap 300 when I've only got 200 laps to make it up.
All they got to do
if this was week 2 or 3,
win more games than Tampa Bay.
Right. You're missing the point. You are running out of games to do that.
They're still head-to-head, right? I don't think they played each other yet, have they?
Again, even if you haven't. Let's see. Saints, Panthers, Bucks. The next time that these square off will be on December 21st, and then again in week 18, which is a TBD game.
So if you guys kept stride until those 2 games, and the Panthers won those 2 games, then they would be in the lead.
I mean, if you played them next and next, but if you're going to drop a game
I just said same stride. So you win one, they won one. You lose one, they lose one. You get there to those 2 games, you can take the lead by beating them twice.
Yeah, and what if you don't? What if you don't? Yesterday was a chance.
I'm just proving that it's a possibility.
What I'm saying is you are once again being the emperor of optimism.
Whereas you are whatever the opposite of that is.
A realist. No.
You think so?
Yes. Here's the reality, Lonzo. Had you beat a team that you were 6.5 point favorite over yesterday, then today, Tampa and Carolina are tied for the division.
By the way, and this is going to be weird, me saying this, maybe the Saints go on a tear, man. Maybe the Saints would.
Now you are being the emperor of optimism.
Maybe Tyler Shuck was the guy.
Maybe the Shuck's the guy.
And they start winning games.
Maybe we should have given a Shuck from the beginning. I don't know.
Maybe you should have.
Maybe we should have. But it's irrelevant because it's too much to make up for that team. But what I'm talking about is what I said to Rashad on Friday. In fact, called the shot on Friday. It was to me. It feels like there is a real possibility that the New England Patriots go down to Tampa Bay and they win this game. They keep Tampa to 6-3. And if they keep Tampa to 6-3, a win over New Orleans would have made Carolina 6-4, which is effectively a tie for that division at that point.
I just want to point something out. Okay, the Saints play the Falcons next. They can win that game. We saw what the Falcons were last week. They may not be able to beat the Dolphins, but they should be able to. The Dolphins had a heck of a game yesterday, which was amazing. Then they play the Bucks. Then they play the Panthers again, who they already beat. Then they play the Jets, who they should be able to beat. Then they play the Titans, who they should be able to beat. Your team is not out of a shot at winning the NFC South.
I don't care. I just don't care. And
you're rocking the gear today. You come in, you're all positive. Maybe your team, you're not that positive though.
I'm positive because I'm talking bleep because it's fun because I sat there and had it heaped upon me on Friday.
Look at how easy that schedule is for the Saints. Again, I mean, the hardest game they have is with the Buccaneers. They can win every other game.
Cool. So Carolina had an opportunity ahead of them this weekend with New England beating Tampa Bay. That if you win a game, you are supposed to win. This was our conversation last Friday. A good team is going to win all the games that they are supposed to and a few of the games that they're not. And after the win at Green Bay, you went, okay, there is a win that you are not supposed to win. If you are able to take that win and compound it, follow it up with a win that you are supposed to get, now you are doing the things that a good team can do. And then I added on that to Rashad Beard on Friday. If New England goes down to Tampa and wins this game, and Tampa's a very tough place to play, but New England came into that game at 7-2, leading the AFC. It's a good football team. If they can go down there and get that win, and you can knock off New Orleans as you're supposed to, you wake up Monday morning and you are tied for the NFC South. And the opportunity was right there. And you blew it. This game to me, aside from allowing a rookie and Tyler Shuck to just dice you, and I think as much as we are going to have a conversation about Bryce Young, I think we need to have a conversation about the defensive backfield for Carolina too, because it should be better than it is. Like on paper, it just should be better than it is. And I'm at a point where a few years ago, there was a conversation about then Denver Bronco defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero. And the conversation was, this guy, how lucky Carolina was to get this guy, because this guy should be a head coach somewhere. This guy should be wearing the big headset for somebody. And he ended up in Carolina. And there was a conversation that I had on the show where I multiple times said, you should be getting this guy ready. You should be getting this guy ready in case he ends up taking over for Matt Rule. And then he didn't. And this is one of those times where, listen, I'm not adverse to saying I'm going to get some wrong. We all do. Like, I don't care that I get some wrong. It's part of the gig. But I said, when I watched team after team pass up on Ejiro Evero, I was like, man, somebody's going to learn a lesson. This guy's going to get an opportunity somewhere, and there's going to be a lot of teams, potentially including the Carolina Panthers. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to look back and go, how in the bleep did we miss on that? How did we miss on this guy? And I don't think that's the case anymore. Because Evero's defense is not what I needed it to be yesterday. I mean, you were fine against Green Bay. You were good against Green Bay. But I've also said and would say was part of the breakdown last week of the Green Bay game. That was the worst I've seen Jordan Love look this year. And I don't think it was. There are days that quarterbacks look bad because your defense makes them look bad. And there are days that quarterbacks look bad because everybody has a bad day. And unfortunately, sometimes your bad day is at work. Sometimes your bad day happens when you're on the clock. And I thought that with Jordan Love last week, it wasn't necessarily that the Panthers were doing anything to make Jordan Love have a bad day. I just thought Jordan Love had a bad day, and you took advantage of that. You had an opportunity against a rookie this week to try to create a world that was just too much for him. And the defensive backfield didn't do it. There were a few spots where, especially early in the game, I thought Carolina's defensive line behind Derek Brown was doing a good enough job to take away the run game from New Orleans and put it all on the rookie that you were going to be able to overwhelm them.
He's 26. I mean, I get he is a rookie in the NFL, but he's a lot more mature than a lot of the kids who get out there for their first start.
Sure, and he's had one start. He started one game before this, right? Like, scratch that. I lied to you. I didn't think he started one game. This was his first start. And it was like the first time that a rookie head coach won with a rookie quarterback in, I don't even know how many NFL years. Like, it's been a while. So, like, everything was in your favor. You didn't get it done. And yes, a lot of this was on Bryce Young. 17 of 25, 124, no touchdowns, 1 interception. A lot of this was on the pass catching unit, which didn't stand out. McMillan had 8 targets, 5 grabs, 60 yards. Jatavion Sanders, 5 targets, 5 grabs. Outside of that, like nobody was really special for Carolina getting free and giving him targets. And then the offensive line didn't hold on. This was we talk about having complete team wins. This was a complete team loss for Carolina. There is not a superlative to this game. There is not this was bad and this was bad, but hey, this looked good. There's nothing. The O-line was bad. The running backs were bad. The pass catchers were bad. The quarterback was bad. The DBs were bad. The D-line looked good for a quarter and a half, and then they were bad. There's no superlatives to this game. All right, we'll talk more about it later on in the show. AP Top 25 is out. Top 5 remain unchanged. Let's look at everybody else after the results of the college football weekend. Get you set up for tomorrow's playoff rankings. All that and more coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
I sent you the video of the Blizzard soccer game. I don't want to spoil it since you don't seem to know about something that happens in it, which is pretty amazing.
Have the Packers fallen off after the loss to the Panthers? I just think I genuinely think the Panthers had a legitimately bad game against Carolina. You took advantage of it. God, no.
Do they not have snow plows in Canada? Now I'm watching some dude with a snow shovel out there. Just one guy.
Here's my sincere, genuine question. I see that they're I guess they're shoveling.
Yeah.
How do you play? The ball doesn't roll. How do you play soccer in that? Also, dome every stadium. That looks miserable.
Okay,
that's not fun.
And they use a different ball too. I guess it's a different ball because it's not the white ball. It shows up really good against the snow. Wonder how the soccer cleats hold up in that kind of, because we're talking 3-4 inches at least. The Canadians are confused about what to do with the snow shovel. So I must not have sent you the bicycle kick. There's a bicycle kick to win the game in the snow in that blizzard. It's pretty cool. I saw it on Sports Center this morning.
All right, let me find that Gus Johnson clip.
Macaulay Culkin was dressed as a toilet for Halloween. And he's holding
was it a skibbity toilet?
He's holding one now because he's holding a poo thing. You know those stuffed animal things that look like poo? He's holding one of those. He's out there in a rich neighborhood. He's walking around.
Play it live because I can't download sounds. Stay right there, guys. Be right back in just a minute. All right, let's get to perhaps the most contentious college football moment of the weekend. The Indiana Hoosiers were on the road to the Penn State Nittany Lions this past weekend, the number 2 team in the country, fighting for their lives against Penn State. They were like 17.5-point favorites. They did not cover, not even close. In fact, with inside of a $1.50 left to play, Penn State had a 4-point lead over the Hoosiers, which of course meant that Indiana on their final drive, it was tutty or bust. And not just bust, but there was a chance that a loss in this game could have resulted in Penn State missing out on the Big Ten championship game. It does not necessarily mean they would have missed out on the playoffs. They would have been at large. But they depending on how the rest of the season broke, there's a chance they could have missed out. So, on top of that, you add in that Indiana just wanted to go unbeaten this year. And the Hoosiers have less than $1.50 to drive 85 yards, I think at one point. 85 yards to score a touchdown. And with seconds left to play, Indiana lines up on, I believe it was 3rd and goal at this point. And Fernando Mendoza. I'm not going to say that this was his Heisman moment. I am going to say that if Fernando Mendoza was going to have a Heisman moment, he was running out of time to do it. And this so far is the closest he's been. But the contention is not about what happened on the football field. The contention is what happened on the play-by-play mic. Because Gus Johnson, who has for a very long time been considered the most electric play-by-play man in sport, called the touchdown like this.
Mendoza in trouble. It's out. Touchdown. Wow. A miracle play. Unbelievable. Give him the Heisman Trophy now.
Wow, that was great. That was really good. Why would that bother you? I mean, he's emotional. He's into the game, which is what he's supposed to do. I mean, I've never did play-by-play before. You have. And how's that any different than when Will Pelagic goes Mickey Mouse? I mean, it's
not good.
It's really good.
It's not.
Now I'm sorry I missed it live.
I did not miss it live. I was watching this game in the Bro Cave. And the call from Gus Johnson to me was disappointing. And it was disappointing because it could have, probably should have, been a standout moment of the season, especially if Indiana does anything in the postseason. Long playoff run, win a natty, play for the natty, whatever. When college football has its one shining moment montage at the end of the year, this play could be one of the most impactful. And if you haven't seen the touchdown yet, it's one of the most incredible touchdown catches in all the years I've watched football that I've ever seen. Omar Cooper Jr. is coming down in the back of the end zone. He had to sky to catch the ball. Caught the ball damn near with his head at the goalpost. And as he skies to catch the ball when he's coming down, he is turned perpendicular to the goal line, or I guess parallel with the back line. And as he's coming down, his right foot is his lead foot. And his right foot is 1,000% going to go out of bounds. I don't know that I have ever seen a wide receiver do this. His right foot is his lead foot. His right foot is 10,000% going to land out of bounds. And as he comes down, he lifts his right foot back in the air, almost like he's pedaling a bike in midair. He lifts his right foot back up in the air. His inside foot, which is his left foot, he manages to toe tap with. His right foot goes back in the air, his left foot toe taps. And when I tell you that his left foot toe taps with centimeters, millimeters between it and the chalk outline on the back of the goal line, it's not an exaggeration. I mean, there is yay much space. And it was evident it was there. But yay much space. So my man, right foot's going out of bounds, gets it back in the air, toe taps with the inside left foot, his drag foot, toe taps to get it down before he slides OB. It was, sincerely, it was one of the most dramatic and impressive touchdown passes that I have ever seen anyone make. Like, this is not because it's a team that I enjoy watching, which I do. It just was an incredible catch. I was watching this game and was texting 3 or 4 people while it was happening. I'm like, for the love of the football gods, tell me you saw that catch. That was unbelievable. This should have been a highlight moment. And my man Gus is out here. And listen, I understand right now I don't have a lot of room to criticize and critique. My voice got shot last Wednesday, and I'm still working on getting it back to the point that after segment 1, when we went off to break to do our live read, Zoe hit me with, hey, bro, you're pressing a little hard. You're pushing a little bit. Yeah, I am. That's how I do the show. I don't know how else to do it. I know I don't have a lot of room to talk right now, but man, that was pull it back. Like if going full throttle puts your car into the wall, it's better to not go full throttle. It's better to run 80% and not crash into the grandstands than it is to run 100% and be flipping over your roof coming down turn 4. Like it's not ideal. And that felt like a tough spot for my guy Gus. All right, let's take a look at the top 25 as they are developed right now. Ohio State will hang on to the number 1 spot. Ohio State had Purdue this weekend. They win that game 34-10. Purdue, second week in a row, like Purdue makes it interesting right out of the gate, and then the Buckeyes just beat the Buckeyes.
Here's what I saw. I was talking to my wife about it. I think they were scrimmaging. I think Ohio State was scrimmaging. They decided we need to work on the run game, and that's what they did. And then when they needed to go away from it, boom, 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 touchdown. I mean, I think they were scrimmaging. There's a lot of speculation about this, about Ohio State holding back and not really playing as hard as they can right now. Like they're just waiting for later, and they don't have to win. I really thought they were scrimmaging in that first half.
Maybe the case. I would say.
This is not me being arrogant. I'm wearing an Ohio State shirt. Obviously, I'm a fan. It just looked like they just kept trying that. Okay, let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. All right, now we need to go ahead and win the game. And then they did, and they won fairly easily.
The last 2 weeks, Ohio State has found themselves in contests for longer than the contest should be contest. I think you guys were a 30-point favorite in this one. And again, I'm not saying that the Vegas line is everything, but it does give you at least a bit of a read on what expectations are.
They gave up that garbage touchdown at the end when the second stringers were in there. And I'm thinking, I don't know what the line is on this, but I bet bettors are getting really angry about what's about to happen.
I think they were last week too. But you hold on to the 1 spot. 55 of the available first place votes remain with Ohio State. Indiana has 6 of them. They will stay at number 2 after a close call with Penn State. They were able to hang on and get that win. The top 3 remain unchanged as Texas A&M, the Colt, is now number 3 in the country. They have 4 of the first place votes with a 9-0 record. The Aggies were on the road at number 22, Missouri. This was Rob's 10,000 star bet of the weekend. There was not a world that it made sense to me that Texas A&M was favored by 5.5 or 6.5 points, depending on where you looked, over Mizzou. 38-17, your final in that one. Alabama will stay at number 4. No first place votes for the Tide. Don't need them. They're only blemished that opening week loss to Florida State. They get a 20-9 win over LSU. Listen, that's about what I expected in this game. This was a game that was going to be a 2-score game to me. LSU was going to have not necessarily the interim coach bounce. I think they were going to have the ding dong, the witch is dead bounce with Brian Kelly being gone. LSU gave what they had. Just not a very good football team. Alabama gets what they need. And the last team that maintains their spot from last week, at least in the top 10, are the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia was on the bye this week after their 41-21 win at Mississippi State. They get set up for a contest this weekend against number 11, Tejas. Outside of that, everybody else in the top 10 shifted. Ole Miss switched spots with Oregon. The Ole Miss Rebels move up a spot to number 6. Ole Miss had a 49-0 blank of the Citadel. The Oregon Ducks. This is a weird spot. Oregon was in and this is one of the times that I'm like, all right, like I don't always agree with the AP poll. And this is one of those times. Oregon wins 18-16 at number 20 Iowa. This is a road trip to a top 20 team, and Oregon gets out of there with a win. Ole Miss plays a home game against the Citadel, win 49-0 expected, and they flip-flop spots with Oregon, which I don't understand. And again, the AP poll, when you talk about playoff rankings, the AP poll doesn't mean anything. But again, you're not convincing me that playoff ranking voters aren't looking at the AP poll for at least some foundation of guidance here. So I don't understand how Oregon, which already last week was in a playoff ranking that was a little bit behind where they were in the AP poll, now drops back another spot after a road top 20 win against a respectable Iowa team when Ole Miss blanked a cupcake at the crib, with all due respect to the Citadel. Texas Tech is up one spot. The Red Raiders got themselves on the right end of a 29-7 win over number 7 BYU. That was another game. I really liked the line. I was like, Texas Tech is better than BYU. I like BYU. It's an interesting team. It's a running team. The problem you're going to bump into with BYU is if you get them on the ropes early, and you make BYU become a throwing team because they've got to try to score to keep up with you, you can blitz BYU, and that is what happened. BYU dropped down to number 12. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish up one spot to number 9. Somebody did ask this question, and I thought that this question was very fair. Notre Dame is 7-2. Miami is 7-2. Now, I don't have love loss for either one of these teams. Notre Dame is 7-2. With wins over Purdue, Arkansas, Boise State, NC State, number 20 USC, Boston College, and Navy. Miami is 7-2 with wins over number 6 Notre Dame, Bethune-Cookman, number 18 South Florida, number 18 Florida State, Stanford, Syracuse. Their losses to SMU and Louisville. So the argument here is wins versus losses, reward versus punishment. Aside from they lost early, how is Notre Dame 9 and Miami is 16 when Miami has more quality wins than Notre Dame and you might want to check the record book on this, a win over Notre Dame? How is Miami at 16 and Notre Dame is at 9 and the highest ranked 2-loss team in America when Miami's losses are worse than Notre Dame's losses, but Miami's wins are clearly better than Miami's wins or than Notre Dame's wins. And by the way, Miami beat Notre Dame straight up. How are they this far behind Notre Dame?
That one girl who votes even though a team doesn't have a win and puts them in.
What about Cokie Riley?
Yeah.
Who was a dude, by the way?
No, there was a girl.
Oh, yeah, there was it. You're right. That was even earlier than that. She was the one who, wasn't she the one that did the Georgia thing?
No, I thought it was Notre Dame had won a game. And
that's right. Had him ranked like 17th or something. Yeah. I don't know. This is one of those spots that I'm like, it's all subjective. And I get that Notre Dame lost 2 and have won 7 in a row, and Miami's losses are recent, but Miami's wins are better than Notre Dame's. Their losses aren't as quality as Notre Dame's, but one of the losses for Notre Dame was to Miami. I'm going to need that explained too.
Okay, how close were they in the CFP last week? Was it was that basically the same? I'm curious to see how much of a difference.
No, Notre Dame was ahead of Miami last week. Of course, Miami was coming off of a loss, so that hurt him a lot. Anyway, Notre Dame number 9, Texas up 3 spots now, back inside of the top 10. So the Longhorns, the zombie edition, after a 34-31 win against Vanderbilt, finds himself back in the top 10. After this week. Oklahoma, BYU, Vandy, Georgia Tech, and Utah. Georgia Tech now the ACC's highest ranked team at 8-1 behind 8-2 Vandy. Of course, the Texas Vandy game was last week. Vandy's got a chance to kind of climb back into this. Georgia Tech, now the ACC's highest team, as both Louisville and Virginia lose their second game. They are now at 19-20. Miami at 16, Utah 15, USC 17, Michigan 18, then Louisville and Virginia to round out the top 20. We'll react to more of the college football weekend. We'll get into some NFL scores later on in the show as well. All that coming up in the next hour of the Rob Brown Show after a Sports Flash.
Wow, not even an intro.
We were late.
I must have really made them mad or something. The Carolina Panthers are back to 500 after a 17-7 home loss to the Saints. Bryce Young was held to 17-25 for 124 yards and 1 interception, while the Panthers only rushed for 73 yards, including 53 on 18 carries for Rico Dowdle. Saints rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck completed 19-27 for 282 yards and a pair of touchdowns, and the Saints rushed for over 100 yards for the first time since week 4. And 4 consecutive wins for the Carolina Hurricanes with a 5-4 win over the Maple Leafs. All 5 goals were scored by different Canes, including Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis, and Logan Stankovic. That's his name. The Atlanta Braves have made another coaching staff addition, hiring former Baltimore interim manager Tony Mansolino as the third base coach. Mansolino had been with the Orioles since 2021. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show coming up next.
Poof.
Can you dig it?
My bad. You hesitated. I thought I had time when you took your breath. And sorry.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and Ew. Welcome back. Good to have you. As we roll through a Monday edition, actually Monday edition where we overreact to the overreactions of overreactors about the football weekend that was. And we have got a lot to react to. We went down the path of the AP Top 25 just a moment ago. Of course, we'll do it again here in a second, as that will obviously be an item on the water cooler cheat sheet when we get that going here in just mere moments from right now. As will the loss of the Carolina Panthers to You're My Hour, New Orleans Saints this past weekend.
What was that musical interlude? What was
that was the beginning of the second line, which is, of course, one of the 2 or 3 different fight songs of You're My Hour, New Orleans Saints.
Also, it's a horn section.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, I just can't do a great trombone impression, so that's actually a trumpet
I
impression.
was going to say, why do you bring your trombone
I should
in?
learn to play the trumpet. And it's one of those things that, like, every now and then you just have those moments of, like, I should do that. And then, you don't, but, like, you're inspired. I'm inspired for a brief minute. I should learn how to play trumpet.
How much of a difference? I mean, there's no slide involved, but it's the same kind of
Let's be real. It's really just, can I memorize how to, like, it's 3 buttons, but it plays 8 different notes in 12 different octaves. It's just, it's too much to memorize. I got too much going on. Anyway, Saints get the win. We'll talk about that here in just a moment from right now. And the gambling world got another really bit of bad news for those of us who are sports wagertainment fans over the weekend. Also will be an item on the water cooler cheat sheet here in just a minute from right now. We've got a lot we've got to get to. Got to react to Clemson's win over Florida State at the crib, back on the W side of things at Death Valley. That's coming up here in just a few minutes from right now. We'll start looking ahead towards this weekend. Gamecocks have a new offensive coordinator, air quote. Offensive coordinators, air quote. We'll talk a little bit about that later on in the hour.
It's a committee. Cool.
It might be. We're going to talk about that coming up later on in the show, and a whole lot more. So it's going to be a busy hour. It's going to be a busy back 3 hours of the show, but it is 7:04 in the morning. You have less than 56 minutes until you have got to get into the office. You've got to get logged on to the computer. You've got to respond to all those passive-aggressive emails with passive-aggressive emails of your own. And then you've got to do what you really want to do, which is ignore work entirely and go talk about sports with your coworkers. And if you are going to do that, you will need to know what is going on in the world of sports. And if you need to know what is going on in the world of sports, ladies and gentlemen, have you come to the right place? Because just after 7 a.m. every weekday, except the ones that we're not here like tomorrow because we are off for Veterans Day, we do this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
Bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with whoever you get into the office and start talking sports with. When you do, this is what you will be talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Allow us to dive right in with item number 1. Your AP Top 25 poll is out. Your AP Top 25 poll is both largely unchanged and entirely changed from last week, depending on where in the poll it is that you are looking about. The Ohio State Buckeyes get a win over the Purdue Boilermakers this weekend, 34-10, and they maintain their stranglehold, baby, on the number 1 overall spot in the AP poll. 55 of the available 65 first place votes belong to the Buckeyes. The Indiana Hoosiers have a thriller against Penn State this weekend. They do pull it out with a touchdown on their final drive to take and hang on to a 3-point lead, which would stand over the Nittany Lions, the Buckeyes at 1, the Hoosiers 2, a Big Ten stranglehold on the top 2 spots. Your first SEC teams stack 3, 4, 5, and 6. They are Texas A&M with 4 first-place votes at number 3. Alabama and Georgia remain at 4 and 5. Ole Miss and Oregon flip spots at 6 and 7. This is one of a couple of spots that the AP Top 25 poll and I disagree. I would have left Oregon at number 6 and left Ole Miss at number 7. Ole Miss with a 49-0 home win over the Citadel. Oregon went on the road and escaped a top 20 Iowa 18-16, your final in that one. Ole Miss moves up a spot to 6. Oregon down a spot to number 7. Texas Tech jumps up a spot, as does Notre Dame. They are 8 and 9. The University of Texas rises 3 spots. They now eclipse number 11, Oklahoma, to get back into the top 10 at 7 and 2. Oklahoma 11. BYU falls 4 spots. They got absolutely hammered by Texas Tech. I had a conversation about Texas Tech with a couple of folks over the weekend. Does anybody think Texas Tech isn't a legitimate national championship team right now? Is there anybody that way? And I'm asking this as a question. Like, this isn't me setting up a question used to make a point. It's a genuine question, because to me, Texas Tech is a national championship caliber team right now. Will they stay this way for a long time? I don't know. They may be, much like Florida State in 2023 and then into 24, kind of became a case study on what the best and worst of the transfer portal might be if you decide that that's how you want to build your team. Texas Tech may become the model for what NIL can and can't be, best and worst case scenario. We'll see. I think the Red Raiders are a legitimate national championship caliber team. They knock off, at the time, number 7 BYU. They dump BYU down to number 12. Texas Tech at 8, ahead of number 9 Notre Dame and number 10 Texas. I mentioned Notre Dame in the last segment. I'll ask the question again. Notre Dame is 7 and 2. They are number 9. Miami is 7 and 2. They are now number 16, up 2 spots from last week in the AP poll. My question is, how are those teams that far apart? How is there a gap? How is there a gulf from 9 to 16? When the two teams share the same record, Notre Dame's losses are more commendable than Miami's. Remember, they lost to Miami on the road, and then they lost to Texas A&M, who is now the number 3 team in the country. Miami's losses are not as impressive as Notre Dame's are. Miami's 2 losses came to a top 25 team in Louisville and SMU, which was the big shock there. But Miami's wins are more impressive, top to bottom. They have more ranked wins. USF, Florida State, they were the team that kind of started the downfall of the Seminoles. And, of course, a win over Notre Dame. Like, they have a head-to-head victory over the Irish. How are they that far apart? My theory is you had to put them that far apart, because if you put Notre Dame and Miami into a spot where they were 2 or 3 spots apart, then you would have to put Miami ahead of Notre Dame. This is one of those spots where I would say, I can't say this for certain. I can't say that this is definite. But I do think some teams get a bump based on brand power. I've always believed that. I think there have been plenty of spots where there's enough evidence that that belief is to some degree justified. I think this is one. If Notre Dame has that much of a power imbalance over a team that they lost outright to, not the only reason, the biggest reason I can think of is the belief that if Notre Dame and Miami were close to each other, you'd have to put Miami over Notre Dame. And if you have to put Miami over Notre Dame because of the head-to-head, it puts Notre Dame in a tougher spot to get in. And I do think they want Notre Dame in. I think Notre Dame gets a brand power boost, because outside of that game against Miami, like, what else am I standing on with Notre Dame? Their best win is over number 20 USC. And don't get me wrong, that's not a bad win. That's a good USC team. But outside of that, is the win over Boise State blowing anybody off the table? No, not really. Over Syracuse? No, not really. So, I don't know. That's interesting to me. We'll talk more about that later on in the show. Oklahoma 11, BYU 12, Vanderbilt up 2 spots to number 13, Georgia Tech up 2 spots to number 14. Now the ACC's highest ranked team. They are 1 spot ahead of number 15, Utah. Miami has moved up 2 spots to 16. USC got themselves a good win this weekend, up 3 spots to number 17. Michigan up 3 to number 18. Louisville and Virginia. Chaos in the ACC this weekend, which we got to talk about the ACC, and we will in the next segment. Because a major power player from the SEC over the weekend said the SEC wants to do away with auto bids to conference champions. That might screw the ACC this year. And I'll tell you why coming up. If it was in place this year, it's not. But it is a realistic possibility. We'll talk about that. Louisville and Virginia, 19 and 20 after they both lost this weekend. Tennessee up 2 spots to 21. Cincinnati up 3 spots to 22. The bottom 3 teams, Pittsburgh at 23, James Madison is at 24, and South Florida ranked at number 25. Tulane, Mizzou, North Texas, Iowa, Houston, SMU, Arizona State, Illinois, San Diego State, UNLV, and Memphis are all outside, but at least one AP vote received. We will talk more AP later on, but we've got to get a couple more things in here. Let's get to item number 2. 17-7. The New Orleans Saints come up to the bank and rob it. Get the win over the Carolina Panthers. Tyler Shuck, y'all. Is what Tyler Shuck, y'all. Like he can play a little bit. 19 of 27, 282 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Rook. A 128.9 passer rating for Tyler Shuck. Alvin Kamara, his best day in a while, 22 totes, 83 yards in this one. The Saints ran for 122 yards. It is the first time the Saints have rushed for over 100 yards dating back to a week 4 contest against the Buffalo Bills. On the flip side, Bryce Young did not look good in this game. 17 of 25, 124, no tutties, and 1 interception in the game. And Carolina had their worst rushing outcome in a while. 23 carries, 73 yards. Rico Dowdle, 18 for 53. He scored the Panthers' lone touchdown on the opening drive. After that, it was a lot of punts, a few turnovers, and a blocked field goal. Ultimately, that would do in the Carolina Panthers. They fall back to 500 at 5-5. And unfortunately for Carolina, Tampa lost this weekend too, meaning you could have woken up today with a tie in the NFC South. Technically, you would have been a half game back as you have not taken your bye and Tampa has. But Tampa's not taking the bye and you have. Technically, you would have been a half game up, but you would have been effectively tied for the NFC South. Instead, you remain the full game and a half back after you did not make up ground on Tampa when they lost to New England and you lost the game you were expected to win. We will talk more about this one later on in the show as well, but we still have to get to item number 3. This is not necessarily a story that I think would get a spot here, but I think with everything that is happening in the sports world connected to sports gambling, it has to. After the NBA story broke, what was it, a week and a half ago, where we had multiple arrests of NBA personalities while we were live on the air, and it opened up that, hey, maybe there's some problems in the NBA. MLB is now facing its own. Now, part of it, we already knew. Emmanuel Clase, relief pitcher for the Cleveland Guardians. Earlier in the year, Emmanuel Clase was taken off the roster for the Cleveland Guardians. The reason why was he was being investigated, for potentially tipping pitches to gamblers. The investigation was Emmanuel Clase, is he giving pitch results before games? Is he giving pitch results to bettors? And now Emmanuel Clase has been indicted, charged with doing exactly that. He and Guardians pitcher Luis Ortiz have both been charged with fraud, conspiracy, and bribery stemming from an alleged scheme to rig individual pitches that led to gamblers winning hundreds of thousands of dollars, according to an indictment unsealed by federal prosecutors yesterday. The 26-year-old Ortiz was arrested in Boston and will appear in court today, according to prosecutors. Clase is not in custody as of right now. Prosecutors of the Eastern District of New York, the Brooklyn-based U.S. Attorney's Office that levied similar charges against Terry Rozier and multiple coaches in late October, said the indictment that Clase arranged with a bettor as early as May of 2023 to throw specific pitches for balls so the gambler could place prop bets and profit. Ortiz joined the scheme in June of 25, and between the two, gamblers won at least $450,000 wagering on pitches, while Clase and Ortiz were given kickbacks for their participation. Now, for the dumbest part of this story, according to the indictment, Clase and Ortiz were given kickbacks of about $5,000. That means that these two guys, and I want you to go back to this year before he got investigated and was taken off the roster. Emmanuel Clase was one of the best 2 or 3 closers in Major League Baseball. And considering how important that role is, Emmanuel Clase was expected to end up getting a massive contract. That dude has thrown it away for a few $5,000 kickbacks to throw balls in specific spots over the course of the season. Luis Ortiz was probably not going to get the contract that Clase got, but he was going to get a decent one too. These guys have together thrown away tens of millions of dollars for a few $5,000 kickbacks on certain pitches. That just tells me there was no fear that they were going to get caught. Well, they did. Here's the second best part about this, and this is where it gets spicy. Clase and Ortiz could each face up to 20 years in prison for wire fraud conspiracy, 20 years in prison for honest services wire fraud conspiracy, and 20 years in prison for money laundering, which this would apparently qualify for. My second most, the thing I should say that was second most interesting about this to me was that according to 2 folks I talked to yesterday who are attorneys. Now, they're not sports attorneys, and they don't necessarily deal with cases like this, but they have looked into it. I had 2 different people that are in my circle that are attorneys who told me that the argument for the government could be for these to all run consecutive if they are found guilty on each. Consecutive, which would mean that the sentences would stack, not run. There are situations where sentences run concurrent to each other, meaning all right, you're sentenced to 20 years for this, 20 for this, and 20 this, and they all run concurrent, which means that you're doing all 3 20 years at the same time. So like 1 year down, you've run 1 of 20 on this charge, 1 of 20 on this charge, as opposed to running consecutive, which means you would do these 20 years, and then you would start the clock on the next 20, meaning that these guys, when you put all the charges together, if they were to get if they were to be found guilty, and if they were to receive a maximum sentence on each charge, these guys could do north of 60 years in prison for the deal that they put together. These guys could be in prison until they are in their mid-80s. Now, here's what I'm going to find very interesting. If you're Major League Baseball, do you push for the maximum sentence for guys that were in your league last year? If you are Major League Baseball, do you push, assuming they are found guilty, do you push for the maximum sentence? And do you push for the maximum sentence so that you can go back into clubhouses and go, guys, that's how serious this is. These cats are going to prison until they're in their 80s because of a pitch here or there. Imagine if you can go to prison for 60 plus years because of a pitch here and there. Imagine what happens if you tilt a game. Imagine what happens if you tilt a series. Imagine what happens if you tilt a playoff series. Yeah, it's not just anymore. It's not just about being banned from baseball. It's about going to prison for decades of your life on top of forfeiting tens of millions of dollars. This is an unbelievable story, and we will get back into this later on in the show as well. But when we come back, an SEC authority figure said that the league does not want auto bids when the playoffs expand. And it's somebody that holds a lot of weight, and I want to talk about that. Then I want to talk about what that means for the ACC because they might be used as the example of why auto bids are bad. I'll tell you that when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. William, listen, good pick. Good pick, but like, what? Like, what? It wasn't just that they won. It's like Carolina was in control of the game for 4 minutes, and then it was just all Saints in the back half. Like, it was unbelievable. Yeah, Jacob, as far as playing the trumpet goes, like, I have a really bad short-term memory. So, like, yeah, it's remembering the finger positions on the buttons and all that. I played trombone for like 14 years. So the trumpet obviously has a smaller mouthpiece to play into. That's how you do it. Smaller mouthpiece to play into. I can actually get sound out of a trumpet. I can actually change notes. I can actually do the breathing patterns to change the notes and continue to play. I've just never sat down to learn it. Maybe I should. I have a trumpet. I own a trumpet. It's black and it's dope. Maybe I'll break it out and give it another run. My other thing is every time I'm like, I want to learn a new musical instrument. I'm like, yeah, but I still suck at guitar. And I've been doing that 20 years. Like, do I really want to put time? Shouldn't I just practice guitar more? Because guitar is more versatile as like one guy with an instrument. It's not a lot of times that you're like, all right, welcome to the campfire, guys. Let me get out my trumpet, right? All right, stay right there. We'll be right back. Flying out of Charlotte next weekend, so So, 3 days ago, Mississippi State President Mark Keenum, who is currently the chair of the College Football Playoff Board of Managers, said that the SEC would prefer not to have auto bids in future iterations, words are hard, of the College Football Playoff. Keenum's comments come just weeks before the CFP's December 1st deadline to determine whether there will be a format change for 2026 and beyond. Now, I absolutely believe that there will be. I believe that it will expand to 16 teams. There is a way that it does not expand, and I've told you that before. It is effectively if the SEC and the Big Ten don't get what they want. And one of the things we now know that the SEC does not want is auto bids for the top 5 ranked conference champions, which are in place right now. And there is a reason for that. The belief is that, and I think that this may very well be true. The belief is that for if you were the SEC, I would say to a lesser degree the Big Ten, but certainly for the SEC, that in many, if not most years, the 5th or 6th best team in the SEC will be better than perhaps the ACC champ, perhaps the Big 12 champ, and respectfully, almost certainly better than whatever group of 5 champ might get themselves an auto bid to the college football playoffs. If the playoff expands beyond 12 teams, the Big Ten and the SEC will have to agree on the format because they have the bulk of the control over it, as they did in the last round of contract negotiations when we went from 4 to 12. One of the things that I have pointed out is that there's the potential for one of those 2 conferences to end up asking for an arrangement that may benefit the smaller conferences in order to get the smaller conferences to band together as a coalition in favor of one of the 2 bigger conferences overall and give them the ability to hold sway to get one massive contract feature that they want. What that would be, I don't know. We've talked about it. This might be one of them, is the auto bids. I don't know because the Big Ten has not necessarily given us thoughts on it. I don't know if the Big Ten wants or does not want auto bids in the expanded playoffs when we go to 16. If they do, then it's happening. Or excuse me, if they do want auto bids, this might be what happens in order to pit all the smaller conferences and the Big Ten against the SEC. And then we'll really kind of find out how much power the Southeastern Conference has over all of this. Part of the discussion would be because look at the ACC right now, especially after Virginia lost this weekend, Louisville lost this weekend, and now the highest ranked teams in the conference are 17 Georgia Tech in the AP poll. We'll see what the playoffs look like tomorrow. But Georgia Tech, Virginia is now down at 18. Louisville's down at 19. Georgia Tech and Miami inside the top 16. Here are the teams right now that are tied at the top of the ACC, all with 1 loss. Duke, who is 5-4 overall. SMU, who is 7-3 overall. Pitt, 7-2. Virginia, 8-2. And Georgia Tech, 8-1. Georgia Tech is 5-1. Virginia, 5-1. Pitt, 5-1. SMU, 5-1. Duke, 4-1. The Louisville Cardinals, after their loss this weekend, are now 4-2 in conference. Miami is 3-2 in conference. Those are the next teams up in the ACC hunt. They would need at least 4 of Duke, SMU, Pitt, Virginia, and Georgia Tech to take another conference loss with just a couple of conference games remaining for most of them. There's a world out there and available in the Atlantic Coast Conference. There is a world where 5-4 Duke plays 7-3 SMU for the ACC title game. There is a world where, do I think it's the most likely outcome? I don't. But there is a world where the ACC is represented in the playoffs by an 8-4, or I guess if they win the ACC, 9-4 football team. With all due respect to Duke, who I think is a good team, but like they're 5-4. So take that with, a whole salt and mine. Duke's a good team. Is Duke competing with Ohio State? With Georgia, with Alabama, with Texas A&M, with Indiana? No, they're not. They're not, but they might be the ACC's representative. And so the reason that this is being discussed the way it is because the SEC entered this weekend with, I believe, 9 ranked teams in the AP poll. Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, Vandy, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Mizzou. Are any of those teams losing to Duke? I mean, they could lose to Duke in like just a one-off, college football happens. But like, are any of them going to be underdogs to Duke? No. Mizzou, with their backup quarterback, would not be an underdog to the Duke Blue Devils. If that happens, and I'm not saying it will, but if that happens, that might be the end of the auto bid because the SEC wants it gone, and this would give them the biggest argument, the strongest argument they've ever had to make that happen. And the Big Ten could look theoretically, because again, I look at the Big Ten right now, and I think the Big Ten has Indiana's a national championship contender. Ohio State is obviously the number 1 team in the country, a national championship contender. Are the Oregon Ducks a national championship contender? Like, I might be inclined to say they're in tier 2. They're a very good team, puncher's chance, but with an expanded playoffs, which gets them in, that also means that there's a lot of good teams that are getting in. Now, Dan Lanning gives you an edge that a lot of schools do not have. Like a lot of schools don't have it. Oregon is an 8-1 football team. I don't think Oregon's losing another football game this year. They have got Minnesota, USC, and Washington. I think they're better than USC, who I do not think is a national championship team. I don't think Michigan is. I know Iowa down is not. Like, there are 2 national championship caliber teams in the Big Ten, 1 maybe, which is Oregon, and nobody else. When I look at the SEC, A&M's a natty, Bama's a natty, Georgia's a natty, Ole Miss I'm coming around on thinking is a natty team. I don't think Texas is, but like, they're 7-2, and they've got some ranked wins. I don't think Vandy is, as much as I love Clark Lee and Diego Pavia. I don't think Vandy is, but they're 8-2 with some ranked wins. I don't think Oklahoma is, but they're 7-2 with some ranked wins, right? Like, there are, if you give credit for best possible outcome, there is as many as 7 teams in the SEC you could consider capable of winning a national championship based on results. So, with that being said, if it goes that way, if the ACC is represented by Duke as an 8-4 football team, Duke, by the way, who lost to UConn this weekend, who lost to Tulane earlier in the year, that's not good. And that might be the argument to get rid of the auto bid. Now, do I particularly care about that? Yeah, no. I mean, I care about it for 2 reasons. I don't care about it because if you do subscribe to the philosophy that you want the 12 best teams playing for the national championship in the playoffs, then no, we should just pick the 12 best teams. And let's argue about, does the SEC really have 7 of the 12 best teams in college football, or 5 or 4, or whatever? Does the Big Ten only have 2, maybe 3 of them? Does the ACC truly, genuinely have 0 of the 12 best teams? Does the Big 12 have 1, maybe 2 with BYU? Does a group of 5 annually produce 0 of the best 12 teams? If the answer is you want the 12 best, it is what it is. But there is one more stance to this, which is this. If the SEC is successful in getting rid of the auto bid, we end up in a spot that the conferences have said they don't want to see happen for a very long time, which is the conference championship games mean nothing, really. Because if you end up as a top 12 team in the SEC and you're going to the SEC championship game, you're not dropping out of the top 12. So let's say you end up in the SEC championship game with Texas A&M and Alabama. If you're Mike Elko or you're Kalen DeBoer, are you playing Ty Simpson and Marcel Reed in that game? I'm absolutely not. No, I'll run them out there for a series or 2, right? Like, let them keep the rust off, but I'm not playing them. On the flip side, if you're the ACC and your ACC championship game ends up being, because the dice rolled this way, SMU and Duke, Neither one of them's going to a 12-team playoff with no auto bids. Does the ACC championship game mean anything? I mean, probably to those two schools because it's the biggest thing you can win. But if you're a fan, are you watching the ACC championship game between two teams that cannot go to the playoffs? No. The ratings on TV are going to eat, bleep, and die. And if that's the case, so does the TV money behind it, which just means the ACC falls even further behind. And it makes it even harder to catch up to produce a team that could be inside the 12 best in America. There's a lot of off-the-field implications here. But Mark Keenum said the SEC doesn't want auto bids moving forward. If that was the case and things shake up the way they might, and hell, even if they don't, there's a path for Georgia Tech to win the ACC and still be outside the top 12 and not get in, even as a one-loss team. That is a realistic possibility based on the ratings we see today. That would kill the premise of conference championship games nationally. All right, your thoughts on that? A little bit more college football talk when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, stay right there. We'll be right back. I'll respond to some of your thoughts. Good morning, Chris. Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. Could you tell that I was having a little fun today? Just a little bit of fun. I took a lot of crap from the boys on Friday, Chris Miller. I decided today's a good day to fire back. Y'all stay right there. We'll be right back. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. 844-326-3663 is the number to call in or text the radio program. I'm not going to spend the entire segment on it because there's a lot more college football that I would like to get to here on the show this morning. But I do think that this statement from Mississippi State President Mark Keenum, who is the chair of the College Football Playoff Board of Managers, the Board of Managers is the entity that will be in control of the potential expansion or any changes to the format at large. The format can change without the playoffs expanding from 12 to 16 or more teams. Remember, the Big Ten earlier this year, and what I thought was a posturing at the time, the Big Ten earlier this year said that they were interested in the college football playoffs expanding to 20 or 24 or more teams in the future. I don't think that that is a reality. Like I said, I thought that that was a position of posturing from the Big Ten, basically sending up a flare to the Southeastern Conference saying, yeah, you guys may have a little bit more power than us, but we don't have none. And I think the ACC, the Big 12, and all the G5s, probably Notre Dame as well, if circumstances were correct, would be able to be talked into pulling for a 20 or 24 team playoff format, because that might be the only way in many years. That might be the only way they can get more than one or two teams in. If we had, just based on the AP poll, which is, of course, not what we base anything on, but if we were basing the AP poll as our, let's say, 20 or 24 teams, the ACC would theoretically get in Georgia Tech, Miami, Louisville, Virginia, and if we went to 24 teams, and Pittsburgh. If we keep it at 12 teams and there was no auto bid, the ACC might get one team in this year. Like, assuming Georgia Tech runs the table, maybe Miami runs the table, maybe Louisville or Virginia run the table and win the conference, maybe they get one in. I don't think they're getting two in with 12 teams. They're getting one with an auto bid this year. If there was no auto bid, maybe they get two in. Like, maximum, they get two in. So I think with the right set of circumstances applied, the Big Ten could talk the ACC, the Big 12, and the G5 conferences into aligning with them for a massively expanded playoffs. And if that was the case, then maybe the Big Ten could push that. But I don't think that's really what they wanted. I think what they wanted was basically for the SEC to look and say, okay, we need to be considerate of the wishes of the Big Ten so that they don't make this move for an expanded playoffs. Because while I think the SEC wants to get rid of auto bids, I don't think they want expanded, because even though that would open up a few more spots, and even though the SEC does have more championship contenders than anybody else, I don't think they look and they go, of 20, we'd get 10 in, and, all 10 of them are title contenders. And with 20, obviously, unless the TV revenue exponentially increases, with 20 or 24 teams, you'll get a little bit more money out of TV, but every individual school and conference will be receiving less money overall. So there's a balance point for the SEC where you go, yeah, more teams is good, we get more money, but too many teams in, and we're spreading more money out. Too many teams in across the national perspective, we're spreading more money out, and that is a bit of a problem. So I'm intrigued because, again, if the SEC gets its way, and I don't know what caveat they would put out there that the rest of the conferences would agree, but the SEC does hold most of the cards, so to speak. If the SEC wants that and they are successfully able to get rid of auto bids, that is a problem for Clemson. Because if you were to win the ACC and do so with a even 10-2 record, 11-2 after the title game, there's no guarantee that 2 losses and an ACC championship sans auto bid gets you in. Why? Our first 2-loss team in the AP poll is at number 9. Our next 2-loss teams are 10 and 11. And keep in mind, at 10 and 11 right now, 11 and 12 are, based on the way it's stacked right now, reserved for the ACC champion and the Group of 5 champion, who both, by default, outside of the top 12, would bump into those 2 spots. Meaning that 7 and 2 Texas is in right now, but 7 and 2 Oklahoma and 8 and 1 BYU right now today, based on the AP poll, they're out. They would be out right now. So that's why, like the SEC, let's put it this way. The SEC, if we had the current 12 but no auto bids, the SEC would get one more team in. The Big 12 would get one more team in with BYU. But here's the thing. I can't guarantee they would stay there because Vanderbilt still has a top 25 game left out ahead of them against and on the road at number 25, Tennessee. 21 Tennessee, according to this week's AP top 25 with the move up. BYU has out ahead of them Cincinnati and UCF. Do you believe that there's no world where Vanderbilt, if they went out, go to 10 and 2, doesn't jump ahead of a 1-loss Big 12 team? They absolutely could and probably would, meaning BYU gets locked out. So sans auto bids, I'm interested to see what everybody looks into. But like I said, the biggest point would be the conference championship games mean nothing after this. There might be 1 or 2, and honestly, there might be 1 or 2 where it means something to like one team. One team might go, we're just on the outside, conference championship would bump us into the Big 12, but the other team might be looking across and going, a loss in this game is irrelevant to us, right? It's irrelevant to us. So if you're Texas A&M and miraculously Vandy makes a run and they get in and they have 2 losses and they're right on the outside, Vandy approaches this as a must-win, but A&M looks and goes, we're not dropping out of the top 12. Like maybe we get a worse seed, but we're in. We're going to take this one a little easier. Like we'll go out there, we'll try to get an early lead and win it. But like if we don't really care that much, which means Vandy gets a win and they bump somebody else out from not the SEC. You see, like it changes everything a little bit. I don't know. We'll talk more about this. Let me get Tron in here, kind enough to hang on the phone line. Tron, welcome back to the show, big dog. Good to have you. What's up?
Hey, man, thanks for having me
Sure.
on, man. To me, it's just all so they're making it harder than what it should be, man. Like the SDS has been doing this since 1979, and automatic bids have been pretty much where it's gone to, where all the champions get that slot. I don't understand why they're trying to make it harder than what they should be. If they want an all SEC championship, you should have an all SEC championship to see who gets to the conference championship before you actually put them in that bracket. Like they do basketball, baseball, and everything else. Like that solved that problem. But to me, it just seems like the SEC is trying to run the whole thing, and there's too much money involved, and it's getting to where it's a mess.
So you're right, and I hold the same position, Sean. The reality of the situation is it's a $1 billion industry. And as I have said on the show before, people who get paychecks that have 6 or 7 zeros on it, Tron, they don't tend to give that power back. And welcome to America. Once people find out that there is profit to be had in something, nothing is sacred. Nothing. Sacred things aren't sacred. I point to televangelists on TV. Like when people learn that they can profit, nothing is sacred, including religion. And that's kind of the spot we are. And by the way, again, they don't tend to go, okay, maybe we've gone too far in making money off of this, so like let's step it back. They don't do that. So the SEC being the entity that makes more money than anybody else in college football, they're not going to give power back. And that's going to take us where we go. This is part of the reason, Tron, that I have said the ultimate conclusion, and to me an inevitable outcome, is we are going to end up with 2 college footballs. Big college football, which is the SEC and the Big Ten, and they'll expand to like 24 teams each, and we'll have 48 teams that play big-time college football, and then we'll have the EEC, the Everybody Else Conference, and that'll be where the teams that get left out, right? Like Florida State, Clemson, Miami, they're getting invites into big college football. Second college football, Wake Forest, Boston College, Syracuse, they will have a second level of college football. It'll effectively be a new FCS, and then all the teams that are in the FCS will drop down to like FDS or D7 or whatever we want to call it, and there'll be a third college football that nobody cares about. All the money will be in big-time college football. Everybody in second-level football, they'll just be happy to exist and have somewhere to play, and it's just going to be the NFL Volume 2, and it is inevitable because that is inevitable with this much money on the table and nobody wanting to give any of it back, which, spoiler alert, they don't and won't.
That's exactly where it looks like it's heading to. And I guess it's sad to see if you are a traditionalist, but if not, then, hey, more the merrier, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's going to be. Tron, appreciate that phone call, brother. Good to have you back on the show. Call in anytime. It's, again, like, it's an inevitable outcome. And getting rid of auto bids, like on its surface, the argument is going to be, look, we want the 12 best teams to play, right? And on its surface, that feels like a good argument. 12 best teams should be in. But to talk about that, in my opinion, one of the things that must be considered, is it is easier to be one of those top 12 teams when you have the majority of the resources. There's an old joke that's not a joke. What's the easiest way to become a billionaire? Step one, be a millionaire, right? Because money begets money. Money makes money faster than labor makes money, right? Like you put $1 million into a bank account over here, or you go out and work a $20, $30, $50 an hour job over here, and the $1 million in the bank will make money faster than you busting your ass at a 40-hour-a-week job for even $30, $40, $50 an hour. That money begets money. And so if you're the SEC and you have all the money, knowing money begets money, it makes it easier for you to field teams that can be one of the best 12 or 16 or 20 or 24 or whatever. If you're the ACC and having no auto bids locks you out, well, now you're not getting all the extra resources that come with being in the playoffs to spread across the conference to at least give everybody a fighting chance to be one of the top 12 teams in college football, or 14 or 16 or 20 or 24. You get the point. So the SEC is going to make the argument that this is all about having the best 12 teams play. And maybe that's true. But also it doesn't hurt them any. Because again, if we were to go, let's say 16 teams, no auto bids, using the AP poll, forget the college football playoffs. Let's look at the AP poll today. We'll find out. We'll do this again tomorrow with that poll, or Wednesday with that poll. In right now, the Big Ten would get Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, and I think that's it for the Big Ten. Or US, well, if we go to 20, but let's say 16. The Big Ten gets 3 teams. The ACC, if we went with the top 16 teams, would get Georgia Tech and Miami. The Big 12 would get Texas Tech, BYU, Utah. That's 3. Same as the Big 10, by the way. The SEC would get A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, all in. That is 7 SEC teams. 3 for the Big 12, 3 for the Big 10, 2 for the ACC, 0 for the Group of 5. This is why the SEC wants to get rid of it. They'll say the 12 best teams, but the reality is it just ensures that they would get more spots than everybody else every year. And do you know what getting more spots ensures you? It ensures you getting more money and keeping your moneymakers atop of the pyramid. Money begets money. This has always been like, this is where a lot of political philosophy comes from. Billionaires stay billionaires simply by existing. They don't have to do anything. Once you get there, you don't have to do anything. That's the same argument applied here. And so you can say it's a meritocracy. 12 best teams go. Yeah, but like when you have all the stuff, it's easy to be top 12. It is damn near impossible to have nothing and make yourself one of the 12 best. And even if you do, it's a years and years and years and years process of an uphill fight that most entities don't have the possibility, the capability of pulling off. Like just inherently don't. So there's something to be said for that, especially when, by the way, if you are a team like, let's say, Cincinnati, and you did say grow your way up to the top, what happens when you get close? a billionaire, an SEC team in that top 12, they just go, yeah, we're hiring all the people that made you that. Back to the barrel for you, bud. Like it's impossible. That's the argument here. All right, we'll talk more about this. I want to get to some NFL in the next hour. Got a couple of clips for you. All that and more after, ladies and gentlemen. If Reading Sports Flash had a playoff, Lonzo would be the number 1 seed every year.
Without a doubt. Reigning, defending, all that stuff. Carolina Panthers are back to 500 after 17-7 home loss to the Saints.
Clip now, sucker.
Bryce Young was held to 17-25 for 124 yards and 1 interception, while the Panthers only rushed for 73 yards, including 53 on 18 carries for Rico Dowdle. Saints rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck completed 19-27 for 282 yards and a pair of touchdowns, and the Saints rushed for over 100 yards for the first time since week 4. In 4 consecutive wins, it is 4 consecutive wins. I'm going to get that right eventually. For the Carolina Hurricanes with a 5-4 win over the Maple Leafs, all 5 goals were scored by different Canes, including Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis, and Logan Stankoven. I don't know. The Atlanta Braves have made another coaching staff addition, hiring former Baltimore interim manager Tony Mansolino as their third base coach. Mansolino had been with the Orioles since 2021. The Orioles are a totally different baseball team, I believe. Because if you're with the Oreos, you probably don't leave because, they're Oreos and they're delicious. Oh, I agree, Jim. Unless Tyler Shuck is for real. But here's the thing. Rico Dowdle was hurt. If he wasn't hurt, would things have been different? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know why. Suddenly I want cookies. I have no idea why. And yes, before you look at the screen, I said Oreos instead of Orioles.
The Baltimore Orioles.
And I caught myself when I did it and laughed about it because it was hilarious. And now, next time, I'm probably going to do it on purpose. So, I mean, So all the rumors is Julia got squashed because she hasn't put in the effort to learn English. I don't know if that's the case or not, or if it's just more.
I mean, we've heard her go with clips here and there. I mean, she's
but
up against Oscar, who's like
they also
promos in English.
they have added they gave her a manager because she can't talk.
Yeah. There's also the fact that Chelsea Green might be the most beloved person on the
could
roster.
Be
as
the
a whole right
could
now.
be that.
Yeah.
Via. Is it via or is it via? Or does it matter about where it is in the sentence?
I've always gone with via.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if there's a rule to it.
This is via is, I don't know. Is it more fancy? Could be.
Pal. Pal.
The wrap. Son of a biscuit, hour number 3, 1-0 already. Lost 2-1 last week. Now down 0-1 early in this one.
Hey, we're not here tomorrow, so you don't have to worry about it tomorrow.
No, that's much like Carolina. That's bad for me. I'm running out of runway already. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot to get to, a lot to talk about on the radio program this morning. We've talked a lot of college football after this weekend so far. I've got more on tap for you as we move through the show. We've got to get some NFL in here as well. I won't spend a ton of time on this, but I this is one of those things that I feel compelled to say, but also I don't want to say, because I hate when you have to warn people against doing stupid things that would get them hurt. I heard the expression over the weekend and I thought it was brilliant. There was I actually read it, I should say. I saw a video going around online of a guy who walked into a gas station, and there was another guy and his girl were standing at the counter trying to check out, trying to pay for whatever they were buying. And the guy who walked into the gas station walked up behind this guy and this gal, and he ran his hand along the lower back of the girl and said something to her. And the guy turned around, the guy that was with the girl turned around, and he was like, "Hey, come here." And stupidly, the new guy walked over to the guy who was with the girl, and the guy who was with the girl socked him right across the jaw. Just pow, put him on the ground. And there was a conversation going on in the comments about, is there a line in society where we societally are fine with someone getting punched in the mouth, right? Like, is there a line where we go, violence is bad, but like maybe not that violence, right? Maybe not that violence. And somebody responded with, as much as I am a pacifist, and I say this because I think I subscribe to it. This individual said, as much as I am a pacifist, as much as I am against violence, I also have a recognition, and I love this phrase, Zoe, that some people must learn their lessons kinetically.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
That is nice.
I like that a lot. Some people must learn their lessons kinetically. So I feel compelled to say the following thing, but I don't want to, because I feel like some people must learn their lesson kinetically.
This is a trend online, TikTok and Instagram and other stuff of people doing pranks like that. And if you're willing to give it a shot, you're going to take a shot.
I mean, I think a lot of them are pranks. I think there are also some people who just like do not have any concern or respect about other people. I saw another one where there was a video going around not terribly long ago. There was like an outside festival or something, and this guy on video walked up to a black guy at this festival and just outright called him the N-word, and the black dude smacked him, like open hand, smacked him across the mouth. And open, for those of you who maybe don't understand this, an open mouth smack to the mouth is not just painful, but it's also a sign of disrespect, because an open hand mouth says, I'm not afraid of you retaliating. In fact, I kind of hope you do, right? Like, I hope you swing back.
It's an affront to your manhood.
Yes, it is. Because sure. I have zero fear of your ability to beat me in a fight. So it's an insult. So this dude reached back. He got called the N-word. He reached back and he slaps this dude in the mouth. And there was this big discussion online, because there are a lot of people who don't understand what the First Amendment actually is, saying, oh, well, it's not a First Amendment violation. The only thing the First Amendment protects you from is persecution by the government for your language. It does not protect you from societal impact. So there was this discussion where it's like, is this okay? And I came to the conclusion, like, there's a decent chunk of Americans who are like, yeah, that guy deserved to get slapped in the mouth. Good chunk of people that went, yeah, if you walk up behind me and my girl and you run your hand across her lower back and say something to her, yeah, you deserve to get punched in the mouth. Those people, if you believe they deserve to get punched in the mouth, you go, I hope you learned your lesson. I hope you learned your lesson about what you just did. So In the Commanders-Lions game this weekend at FedEx Field, Darren Payne was ejected in the second quarter. Now, I don't know what Amon-Ra St. Brown said to Darren Payne or did to Darren Payne or whatever. I don't know what happened. What I do know is that after David Montgomery went into the end zone for a successful 2-point conversion, St. Brown was walking by Payne to the sideline, and Darren Payne reached back, and when I say punched, I don't mean open hand slapped. When I say punched, I don't mean gave like a half-hearted love tap. I mean, dude waited till Amon-Ra St. Brown was in the window. And Zoe, if you haven't seen the clip yet, it's just a bit of dramatic acting. Darren Payne's right hand was hanging by his side. You're welcome, by the way, internet stream. I'm going to win an Oscar for this. Is Oscar the acting one? That's the acting one, right? Yeah, submit me. Darren Payne waits till St. Brown is right here. He drops his right hip, because you drop the outside hip so that you can push into the punch with your forward hip, right? That's if you're boxing and you're going to throw a right hook, you push into that. So if you're going sucker punch, you got to bring it all the way around. He drops the hip, pushes into, and brings that right arm all the way around for like a clubbing sucker punch to the side of the head of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, that in of itself would be egregious enough, except for Amon-Ra St. Brown had a helmet on. His helmet was on. Now, I've played football. I've worn a helmet. And it is obviously true that even if wearing a helmet, if that helmet is impacted, you feel it. It can impact you. Maybe not pain so much as like, oh, what was that? But it's not a punch to the jaw. It's a punch to the face mask. Darren Payne reached back and punched him in the side of the helmet. I feel compelled. Once again, I feel compelled to say, football players, Americans, don't punch people wearing helmets. Like, you're not going to achieve what you think you're going to achieve. And in a football game, like, you might think that you have achieved dispensing some sort of football justice for the grieve violations, whatever they were, committed by Amon-Ra St. Brown. All you did was get yourself, as a leader of that defense, one of the better players on it, ejected from a game.
What if you have
that
those?
Was already an uphill
what if you
battle.
have those padded things? Because I used to have those when they're almost like what the Undertaker wears.
Once again, my question would be, what did you accomplish? What you're saying there is the best outcome is my hand doesn't hurt as much as it did.
Right. Well, maybe you got such a punch that it causes him to have an ache in his neck the next day.
I mean, I guess, but you're never going to know. Like, it's not the same as the satisfaction is putting a jaw on the dude's chin and seeing him for 10 minutes. That hurt a little bit. Right? Or
Which you
if he did something egregious, seeing him go to the ground.
If you can get underneath the face mask, you could still do that. I mean,
you're still going to have to rock the dude with a solid upper. Punching, yes, Cold Take Jim has the best take. Punching helmets is still done.
Yeah, it is.
What are we doing?
Well, it's beyond dumb.
What are you doing, Darren Payne?
But how do those guys not break their hands, though? Their hands are pretty big. So,
they're meaty,
yeah.
but like still. What are we doing here? All right. What else from the NFL jumped off the page? Obviously, New Orleans gets the road win at Carolina, 17-7 is your final. Yes, it was the Saints' second win of the year, but it's, gosh dang it, it's one I really wanted after Lonzo and Schaub were just having themselves a chuckle fest on Friday at my expense.
We'll get the chance to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
And we will not back down from it.
Tyler Shuck, y'all. 19 of 27, 282, 2 touchdowns in this game. Oh, shucks, Rashad, I believe was the joke that he used in my face on Friday. I'm just saying, Shad, you better be here on Friday, dog. You better be here on Friday.
See, I'm offended for Rashad. This is the second time you've done this, making it look like that he would duck you after that. That's not Rashad.
I don't think he would. And he hasn't yet, just so we're clear, He hasn't yet, but you never know. You never know. I'm just saying. Shad better show up on Friday. That's a tough L for the Carolina Panthers, especially the week after. The week after you knocked off Green Bay. Like that is a tough L for that squad. And it's not just that it's a tough L. It is how you L'd. It's how you took that L. This team looked bad, dude. Like this team just overall looked bad. It's not what do you want me to say? Like you looked bad. Bryce, I'm running. It's an expression I've used like a lot of times the last couple of weeks. I'm running out of runway to defend Bryce Young here because it's one thing when you go, all right, he's getting you 140, 150, one touchdown, 130, 140, completing 72, 73%, but you're beating Green Bay on the road or you're beating Dallas at home. Like when you're winning those games, I can't say, oh, you're winning those games because of Bryce Young. You weren't. You were winning those games because of Rico Dowdle. But if Rico Dowdle is going to be held to less than 3 yards a carry, 18 totes, 53 yards for the former Gamecock. If Rico Dowdle is going to be held to 53 yards in a game, then I do need more. I do need expectations to elevate for BY. I will point out, though, the equipment that you are asked to work with does have a massive impact on your ability to succeed. Teteroa McMillan was fine again. 5 on 8 targets, 60 catches, no touchdowns. Jatavion Sanders has been coming alive as a tight end. 5 grabs on 5 targets, 32 yards as an emergency valve. Jalen Coker, 4 targets, 3 catches, 21 yards. A 10-yarder was his longest. Now, I bring that up because you go, it's not bad numbers from a reserve wide receiver. But I would also say Jalen Coker is supposed to be the down the field threat. If the best I can get him is a 10-yard reception, that's not it. Your next 2 highest receivers were Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. Xavier Legette, 1 target, no catches. Mitchell Evans, 1 target, no catches. Nobody else even had a target. So you asked Bryce Young to do that with wide receivers that were struggling to get open against one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. And you add on top of that this was, I would make the argument, one of the worst performances I think we have seen so far out of that Carolina Panther offensive line. Now, let me start before I get to an article posted on ESPN about this game. Let me start with, all due respect, I'm not a big fan of David Newton, who covers this team as the beat writer for ESPN. I'm just not a big fan. I think he's very surface level. I don't think he does a lot of deep diving. I think he covers this team the same way that people that don't have access to the team would cover the team. You add on the fact that historically Newton is like constantly getting names wrong and positions wrong and all that. Like, you know, it's one thing if you're a fan, dude, you are supposed to be the premier beat writer for this team. But put that aside. He put up an article. It felt very armchair quarterback, but also get the point. Article headline on ESPN, poor week of practice led to Panthers flop against Saints. He opens by saying left tackle Ikem Ekwonu saw signs in practice that the Panthers weren't going to be sharp on Sunday. Too many repeated plays. Players weren't locked into the small details. Not enough focus. It was so noticeable that Coach Dave Canales spoke to the team about it not once but multiple times. On Sunday, the poor preparation turned into an embarrassing 17-7 loss to a New Orleans Saints team that entered with 1 win in 9 games. It came a week after the Panthers upset the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. Sunday put Carolina's hopes of making a playoff run for the first time since 2017 in grave jeopardy, in part because it was a home loss, in part because it was an NFC loss, and in large part because it was to a bad Saints team that entered the day tied with the Titans for the worst record in the NFL. Ekwonu said, quote, "You can't get days back. If you have a bad day on Thursday, tough day on Friday or whatever, you can always look forward, but you can't get that day back. So that preparation or lack thereof, it's going to add up. Unfortunately, it just cultivated into what we saw." Fine. Again, kind of feels like a Monday morning quarterback article, but I get it. Here's what I would say. There is a lesson to be learned here. Now, Lonzo is the emperor of optimism, but I'm going to give you an optimistic thought here. There's a lesson to be learned here. That win over Green Bay was a mindset-changing win on the road at Lambeau last week. That win over Green Bay was a win that can be infectious. That's the type of win that you go, we're on to something here. The problem is it can absolutely go too far. It can absolutely take you instead of where you want to be, which is, we can win some games. We can win some games against good teams. We can win road games against good teams. And it can just full throttle ahead you to a point where you mistakenly believe that you are a good team. It can full speed ahead you to a point where you mistakenly believe that you are now a good football team. And I would say, lovingly and respectfully, you're not a good team yet. You're improving. The trajectory is upward. You've got talent. You've seen the glares. You've seen the flashes of good team, but you're not a good team. And I do wonder if this loss to the Saints yesterday, granted, Tyler Shuck looked maybe even better than we expected him to. But I don't wonder if maybe that was the Panthers getting a little caught up in overestimating themselves after a win at Green Bay. Skipping the part of, okay, we're good enough that we can do this, and jumping straight to, we're just going to roll the silver helmets out there and the teams will lay down. We're just going to roll the silver helmet out there and teams will get out of our way because you ain't that, dudes. You ain't that. And if you ain't that, that's not going to work. So I got the impression about halfway through the game, this was Carolina kind of feeling themselves, getting cocky, not confident, cocky. And the Saints jumped up and beast slapped you because of it.
I'm surprised when you said ain't that, you didn't work in who dat.
There's no need to.
Okay.
There's no need to.
All right. Because there's a missed opportunity on your part.
Nah. Listen, there's the salt's in the wound. I can't fit any more salt in the wound, y'all. All right. All right. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, Clemson got the win over Florida State this weekend. It was ugly, but you got it done. What does that say about that football team moving forward? We'll talk about that next on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, stay right there. We'll be back. Got to talk to Chris for a minute. Don't go anywhere.
Can you dig it?
Lighten up, Francis.
The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Clemson gets the win at home over Florida State on Saturday. That one felt iffy going in. And it felt iffy going in both because obviously back-to-back losses against SMU and Duke at home. Florida State at 4-4 coming into this game. Not a good football team. Florida State with losses to, it turns out Virginia's not a bad team. Turns out Miami's not a bad team. Lost to Pitt. Pitt got inside the top 25. Really, if there is such a thing as a bad loss for Florida State, it was really only at Stanford, but it was their fourth in a row. And they put up a 42 spot on the road at Wake Forest, at home against Wake Forest the week before that. So it's like, okay, if you take this team lightly, if you are not prepared, like maybe there is a little bit of something there for Florida State, which had to make you, I think, a little bit nervous. But you look at this game, 98 rushing yards for Clemson, 48 of them Adam Randall, Gideon Davidson, who I suspected as we got deeper into the season would probably start to see an increased role in the offense. But Cade Klubnik was good in this game, 20 of 27, 221, a touchdown, no picks, a QBR of 73, like it's fine. More importantly, and this is what I think jumped off the page at me primarily. I think Florida State, after the win over Alabama, and you will remember that Florida State quarterback Thomas Castellanos had a lot to say about that game against Alabama in the offseason, including at one point saying Nick Saban's not coming to save you. And then Florida State, of course, put it on Alabama in week 1. Since that, Thomas Castellanos has looked a lot more like the Boston College quarterback than the quarterback that, oh, damn, that guy just beat Alabama. And I think you made Thomas Castellanos uncomfortable with your defensive front seven, which to me was highlight of the game, right? Like, I think your offense is okay. I think your offense isn't bad. It's been the defense that has been the biggest problem for Clemson. And I don't particularly care which of the losses you go back and look at. The LSU loss, to me, yeah, your offense was nowhere near clicking. Your defense, which was supposed to be hard-headed, have some NFL dudes up front, didn't look like it. The Georgia Tech loss, you let Haynes King do whatever he wanted down the stretch. The Syracuse loss, Steve Angeli, their at the time starting quarterback, was just kind of dicing you up. The SMU loss, Kevin Jennings. The Duke loss, Darian Mensah, and the fact that with multiple opportunities to stop Duke on their side of the field late in the game, you didn't do it. Your defense, to some degree, showed up. That being said, there were a lot of spots you didn't. Deuce Robinson had 9 catches for 124 yards. We're in the third quarter, the fourth quarter of this game. You took an 18-7 lead to the half. You sat on that lead most of the game. Clemson would ultimately kick 2 more field goals in the second half, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, and that was it. And in that spot, there were multiple times in that game where I'm going, like, eventually, you're going to take Deuce Robinson out of the equation, right? Like, eventually, you've got to take that guy out of the equation. Randy Pittman Jr. had 2 snags for 47. Luay McCoy, 4 for 46. Nobody else for Florida State really made a difference. I will say you did one thing that a lot of teams have not, which is Mekhi Dancy, who is the track star for Florida State. Like, this is a dude, doesn't have great hands, but if you can get him the ball in space, he's outrunning everyone in college football. Like, he is an Olympic-level track star. You really kept him from ever getting an opportunity to do that. You really took away the chance for Mekhi Dancy to take advantage of the speed and cook you on the outside, which credit to you for that. I think there were only like 1 or 2 other guys that had more than 1 catch, and none of them were really the names. So this is what I'll say about Clemson's win over Florida State. You needed one, and you certainly needed one at home. Considering Death Valley has not been the fortress this year that it has been over other teams in years gone by. You did enough. Was I blown away? No, not really, right? Like, I think this win was Clemson doing what needed to be done and not much extra, and doing it against the bad Florida State team. I think that's what this was. Is it a positive? Yes. Can you grow off of this win? Yes. Are there spots that you look better than you have in days gone by? Yeah. Again, defensive line never really let Castellanos get comfortable. And the way that Thomas Castellanos in the first few weeks of the season, when Florida State elevated themselves up to threatening to be a top 10 team, a lot of that was because you either had to bring everything to keep Castellanos from throwing the ball well, or you had to keep Castellanos hemmed in the pocket by putting an extra guy or two on him, but then it was dicing you up. Thomas Castellanos never looked comfortable in this game, and there's something to be said for that, because if you want to win 2 more games, you have Louisville on the road, Furman back home, and then at South Carolina, and the regular season is over. You need to, at this point, win 2 of those 3 games. If I give you Furman, the Louisville game is on the road, the South Carolina game is on the road, and you have to win one of them just to be 500, just to be bowl eligible. There is a path to 7-5. That'd be, I mean, it's not great considering what the expectations are coming into the season, but it's better than fighting for bowl eligibility, because I'll tell you, if you lose to Louisville and you beat Furman, I don't think you want to go into that South Carolina game with bowl eligibility on the line, right? So what you did to Thomas Castellanos, I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see it because that is the blueprint to stopping Miller Moss in Louisville. That is the blueprint to stopping Lenore Sellers in South Carolina. And again, I'm not ready to make any predictions on Lenore Sellers in South Carolina yet. And I'm not ready to make those predictions yet because I don't know what this offense is going to look like after the departure of Mike Shula. I think we need to see South Carolina in action for a game or 2 before we can say, all right, they are going to this or they are going to that. Because, as I pointed out, I think a chunk of the reason that Mike Shula got fired from South Carolina was the Alabama game. An Alabama game in which South Carolina was in charge of that contest, or at least on the verge of being in charge of that contest for 3.5 quarters. And then in the 4th quarter, it kind of felt like Mike Shula was pulling the strings once again. If South Carolina looks like they did in the first 2 of 3.5 first 3 quarters against Alabama, then the blueprint of how you stop Castellanos is that's what you do against Lenore Sellers. But yeah, you still have to do it better, because this may shock you. Thomas Castellanos, not quite as good as Lenore Sellers is. You will have to do it better than you did it against Thomas Castellanos, but at least you got the foundation built. You show what you can do. We're going to keep the guy hemmed in. We're going to bring pressure on the outside. If we can keep him in the pocket, great. We don't trust the arm. If he gets outside of the pocket, we're going to do our best to take away the 1 and 2 on that side of the field and try to make him be a runner, because Castellanos, the player comp I've seen a couple of times when it comes to the run game is he runs like Kyler Murray. He runs small. He runs with quick bursts, but not a ton of speed. Like, he runs like Kyler Murray. The ball's going to be out. He looks like he's shuffling. Those feet are going 1,000,000 miles an hour to reach the same speed as most college football players reach. We don't think he's going to beat us with the legs. And he didn't. He was the leading rusher for Florida State, 11 carries, 31 yards. Nobody else had more than 28 in that game. You also took away the run game from Florida State, which is kind of what everybody's done the last 2 years. But again, that's what you needed to do. I think there's a lot to this game that you can grow on. I think there's a lot to this game that can point you in the direction of being ready for Florida State, or for your next 2 games that matter, at Louisville this weekend and then at South Carolina to wrap it up. But I think everything you did in this game against Florida State, you did well. You will have to do it better, because Florida State is a team that is struggling to some degree. And if Florida State is a team that is struggling to some degree, your ability to do that against Lenore Sellers and South Carolina is one thing. Your ability to do it against Miller Moss is another thing. how are you going to handle it when both of those games are on the road, not at home? How are you going to handle it when you have to win one of those two just to make a bowl game? I'm intrigued. All right, when we come back, John Blau with the Post and Courier covers the Clemson Tigers. We'll get his thoughts on the win over Florida State. And now what he sees playing out for the rest of the season when you need to win 2 out of the 3, including 2 on the road at Louisville and at South Carolina. We'll get John Blau's thoughts on that next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, stay right there. We're going to get John Blau on the line. We'll be back in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo. And as it is Monday, and as it is 8:40, well, 8:39, but who's keeping track? On a Monday, that means we welcome in a young man who is kind enough, generous enough with his time to give us some time every Monday at 8:40 to talk Clemson Tiger athletics. He covers that department for the Post and Courier. Joining us now on the radio program, John Blau. John, I know the season's not what the Tigers wanted, but I imagine there was, at least for a few minutes, a little bit of relief and elevated feelings around the program on Saturday night.
Yeah. I mean, press conference, we saw, Dabo smiling, talking about Tim Bourret, the SID who went in the Hall of Fame, calling his shot, saying the Clemson wasn't going to lose the day he went in the Hall of Fame. Brent Venables impressions from Dabo, a lot of laughs, good times. You definitely tell the vibes were much different after obviously a win.
Without a doubt. And I want to talk about that, and then we'll get into the win over Florida State itself, John Blau. But it's a weird spot to be in because the season still isn't what you expected. You've got to win one of the two road games, either at Louisville or at South Carolina, assuming a win over Furman to get bowl eligible. You're still nowhere near what you wanted the season to be. On the flip side, because of the season being what the season has been, that win must have felt like a relief to get a home win over a team that won an ACC game 42-7 the week before that, even if Florida State's not where they had hoped that they would be this year. Can you talk to me just a little bit about what that emotion meant when, on one hand, in the macro, nowhere near what you had hoped, but on the micro, that's a win that felt desperately needed?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we were talking even about the crowd with Wade Wood as linebacker. He's talking about, we're 3-5 and, we got a giant crowd here still cheering for us. So they're very aware that things are not going well. But, to be able to, like you said, again, it was a 6-game losing streak at home against power conference teams. To get that win is a little bit of, I think, a weight lifted off their shoulders. Obviously still keep the bowl eligibility thing alive, and so you're going to Louisville this Friday trying to pick up some momentum. So, I mean, it was a big deal. It's not the season they want. I think we've kind of already come to terms with that. When you're 3-5, I think they kind of, came together as a team. We saw the Tiger walks. They come in, they go around the paw, they pray together. They kind of really, have unified as a team that way, and they're just kind of playing for themselves and playing for what they can get, which is just, each week trying to find a win and just, to find a win. Like I was saying, I think that's a pretty big deal, and try to make the most of whatever they can from the season.
So let's talk about this win. And again, I know we kind of talked about what it means, which is at least it kept you from a spot where you probably had to win at Louisville and at South Carolina, which is good for the perspective of making a bowl game as it stands. But for the program itself, do you feel like this is potentially the start to momentum building for the final 3 games of the year? Is this something that can be used as a building block going into the offseason? What do you think might be, and I know this is kind of an abstract, but what do you think are the potential long-term ramifications of this individual win?
Obviously Mike Norvell might not have a job anymore. I think it's more, I think I wrote this coming into the game, you have 2 coaches that are kind of on the hot seat a little bit. Obviously Dabo's not getting fired, or not the hot seat that way, but obviously taking a lot of criticism. Mike Norvell, his AD had to put out a statement about whether, he'd have a job still during this season. We're going to wait till the end of the year. And so, long term, obviously for Florida State, for Dabo, I don't know if much changes. Again, going back to the last question, you started 3-5, things are where you are. I think we know that there was going to be changes at the end of the season as far as coaching staff and probably some personnel changes. I don't know what those will look like in terms of how heavy they go into the transfer portal. I think all of that is basically the same. The only thing that, again, could happen if we talk about momentum building is if Clemson somehow runs the table here. You finish 7-5, you get to a bowl game, you win a bowl game, you keep that 14-year streak alive with a postseason win, which is the longest in the nation, and you're maybe 8-5 at the end of the year. Again, that's very optimistic that they're going to do all that. But if you end up with an 8-5 record, that's not the worst year in the world anymore in terms of what it looks like. Obviously, still not good for Clemson standards, and you hit 3-5 at one point, you're 1-3 at one point. Not good, but there still is that on the table potentially in terms of taking what could be a really bad year and turning it into a number that doesn't look so bad by year's end, I guess.
John Blau for the Post and Courier here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. As far as the game itself goes, John Blau, there were a couple of things I very much like. Now, in fairness, there were some spots that I thought Clemson's defense made a couple of mistakes, kind of left the door open for Florida State, and fortunately, Florida State just not talented enough to walk through it. But I also know they made Thomas Castellanos uncomfortable. They said, we're not going to let him get into the flow he got against last week, into the flow he got against Alabama. Kind of prevented him from really ever getting comfortable as a runner or a passer, and I think that showed up in the stat lines. Defensively for a front seven specifically that you and I have talked about multiple times this year, because it just hasn't really felt like it's played up to the potential that it has. I thought it was one of the better efforts we've seen out of that group so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, 6 sacks, 9 tackles for loss for Clemson's defense. They definitely, like you said, they definitely got some pressure, made some plays. I mean, I felt like it was one of the better games for Wade Woodaz and Sammy Brown. They were flying around, making a lot of plays. And yeah, well, like you said, Florida State had its chances. I mean, there were some balls that were absolutely perfect that got dropped. Guys could walk up the sideline for a touchdown. Instead, they're dropped. And then there were some overthrows that Castellanos had. So it wasn't pretty for Florida State, because they easily could have maybe gotten to that 510 yards, which was their average per game, but they didn't make those plays. So otherwise, I mean, I think Clemson's defense was better at times. Again, you can't say they were great because of some of those busts that just weren't taken advantage of, but it was a pretty encouraging game in that way, because this is the number one offense in college football as far as yards per game. This was a team that was absolutely capable of putting up, 46 like Duke did the week before, and you didn't let that happen. So to be able to, again, make those plays on the line of scrimmage, to get a 15-0 lead, to be able to hold them down long enough to be able to get ahead and be in the driver's seat, I think that was a really big deal for Clemson moving forward.
Yeah, and I do want to take what you were talking about there. Florida State, a number of drops, a number of opportunities down the sideline that probably could have, should have, would have been touchdowns. The concern that I do have about this game, while there is momentum to build off of, John Blau, is those are the types of plays that a Jeff Brom-led, Miller Moss-led Louisville offense takes advantage of. As much as South Carolina has struggled this year, in the games that they have won, games like Virginia Tech, etc., those deep ball, explosive, big plays are kind of what South Carolina has leaned on to some degree. If those mistakes keep happening, when you run up against a team that is not going to give as many back like Florida State did, and Louisville and South Carolina, I think, are two of those types of teams, that could lead to another round of problems.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's I'm sure that Jeff Brom is watching this film, and he sees the very obvious issues that we all see watching these games, which is that Clemson safeties just aren't in the right spot a lot. They just tend to have their eyes in the backfield. They bite. There's just lots of busts that way. So I'm sure that Jeff Brom's going to create a game plan centered around that, trying to manipulate those safeties. And I mean, with Bell at receiver, Miller Moss at quarterback, you got Isaac Brown at running back, is a really talented player. Clemson saw him last year. There's a lot of challenges that this offense for Louisville could present. And, obviously, like you said, South Carolina's got some talent too. Lenore Sellers, and, hasn't had a great year behind that offensive line for the Gamecocks. But, you definitely need to continue to try to get that cleaned up. I would hope that, it's something that Clemson, I'm sure at practice, has been beating a drum in terms of trying to get those guys to realize what they have to do in those situations. And you kind of hope that you got away with one against Florida State there. But those definitely things that they have to fix, or they absolutely are going to get exposed these next few weeks.
Talk to me about the other side of the ball. And I'd like to start, I want to get to Cade Klubnik here in a minute, but let's talk about the rushing game. 15 totes for Adam Randall, 48 yards, average 3.2. Gideon Davidson starting to see some increased repetitions in the offense. 10 totes, 39, average 3.9. I had this theory a couple of weeks ago, John Blau, that we might start seeing more of Gideon Davidson. We might start seeing really across the entire offense some of the younger guys getting a little bit more time, getting ready for next year. But then I really thought about it, and I'm like, hey, you're still playing for bowl eligibility and keeping that streak alive. You're still playing to have a postseason, even if you are playing in the Gator Bowl and not the playoffs. There is still something to be said for that. So it maybe is kind of a weird spot for Dabo of, I want Gideon Davidson to get more opportunities. I want some young wide receivers to get out there and run some more plays, get some more repetitions, get some more efforts. Do we start to see Gideon Davidson filling in, getting more totes, getting closer to a split with Adam Randall? Do we start to see some of the young wide receivers, or might that happen? I guess I should say not, depending on the importance of the South Carolina game.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're already starting to see it with Gideon. I mean, to get 10 carries and the number he had last week seems to be a little bit more of an even split with Adam Randall. I think that's just, they think, a good thing for the offense, just to have that variety and to get Gideon a little bit more of a flow, or to get him more in rhythm. Obviously, you're hoping this is your running back next year, and so you need to get him ready. As long as, again, there's always the transfer portal and stuff like that. So you never know, but that's kind of the guy that I think they think is the guy next year. So I think that continues. What's really been great for them has been Brandon Jacobs at left guard, which I never thought that would be a good thing. I remember just seeing even like one fan podcast was talking about, put him at guard. And he's like 6'8", 355 pounds. You can barely see over. But it's he's been great. And then Tristan Liebeck at left tackle, they really have a side of the ball they kind of run to and rely on. I know the numbers don't look very good at the end of the day. In terms of the per carry yards, I think in the second half they kind of slowed down a little bit, but to see them kind of blowing opposing defenses off the ball a little bit, be able to get a seal, kind of get off to the edge behind that left side is definitely a big deal for them. And just trying to be more balanced as well. Again, Garrett Riley got away from the run earlier in the year. Didn't really look like the dirt raid, but it looks like they're a little more balanced now. So I think you'll see Randall and Davidson, and that's obviously a huge key for them to keep them on schedule and put Cade Klubnik in easier down distance situations.
John Blau, Post and Courier, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Through the air, Cade Klubnik looked much better in this game. 20 of 27, 221, 1 touchdown. Again, nothing that was going to be super flashy, nothing that you went, oh gosh, dang, there is what we've been looking for. Did have a handful of 20-yard receptions. I think Antonio Williams had one for 34 at one point in this game. Felt like he was a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. Felt like he was a little bit more what we were expecting coming to the year. Maybe not making ththose Heisman moments, John Blau, but it did feel like the passing offense, when it was needed, certainly up until Clemson had built a 18-7 lead at the half, it felt like it was good enough, John Blau, which I think is right now a compliment to where it was not terribly long ago.
Yeah, again, like the offense slowed down a little bit in the second half, but to get out to that 15-0 lead, obviously a little bit trickeration there with a flea flicker, throwing it to Antonio Williams. He goes up for the jump ball. And those are plays that, again, you were thinking earlier in the year you're going to see stuff like that, just really weren't seeing any explosiveness. And just the numbers. I mean, I think I put the numbers together yesterday in terms of Cade Klubnik's first 4 games. I mean, he was at 60% passing. He was under 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And then, the last 4 games, he's completing almost 78% of his passes for 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, well over 1,000 yards. I think he's at 1,140. So, this is more of what you wanted to see out of Cade Klubnik, just making the right reads, putting the ball where it's supposed to be, on time, in rhythm. He looks much more comfortable back there. And again, I think that's partially because he got a little bit more of a running game at times. Obviously, against Duke, they did not, or against SMU, they did not at all from Zena. But the last couple weeks, they've been running the ball better. I think putting themselves in easier situations. And Cade, for the most part, is seeing his guys and just delivering the football.
John Blau from the Post and Courier. All right, last one, John, and we'll let you go. We've said it a handful of times. You got Louisville on the road. This is an offense under Jeff Brom. Miller Moss, the transfer quarterback in from USC. We know he is unafraid to let it fly 40, 45, 50 times in a game if they feel like there's an advantage there. And I would agree with you. Clemson's DBs being what they are this year, there probably is one. Obviously, win this game with Furman down the line, maybe take the pressure off of requiring the South Carolina win. Rather play that for pride than for the postseason. We'll see. But just your overall thoughts on that game as we move towards it this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like we're saying, huge game, I think, for both teams. Obviously, Louisville wants to beat Clemson. They were able to beat them last year to be able to get back-to-back wins over a Clemson. That's a great, moment for your program, I guess, even if Clemson's not that great this year. Obviously, coming off the loss to Cal, I think they're going to be really focused and kind of have, for Jeff Brom's going to have their attention. And so, yeah, Clemson's going to have to play well. They played well their last stretch on the road, at UNC, at BC. This is a different level of opponent, though, with just a much more explosive offense. And so, yeah, like you said, I think obviously if Clemson wins this game, I think you continue to pick up momentum and you have a chance again of finishing 7-5 maybe in the regular season, which would be a very nice finish considering where they were. But it's definitely a game you could lose as well, just because of the weapons Louisville has. So it's going to be a very interesting night in Louisville. We'll see, how it goes and how the season finishes for Clemson.
John Blau covers the Clemson Tiger Athletic Department for the Post and Courier, kind enough to join us every Monday morning at 8:40 to break down what we saw and what we might see moving forward. John, my man, appreciate it. Big dog. Enjoy the game this weekend. We'll talk to you next Monday.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rob.
You got it. John Blau, Post and Courier. Appreciate his time as always. When we come back, got a few thoughts in the NFL, including a very interesting name that is now atop the NFL MVP odds getters after this weekend. We'll talk about that. Some of the other big, how about the Buffalo Bills absolutely bleeping the bet against the Dolphins? We'll get to that and a whole lot more. All of that after the giggler in chief. He enjoyed that more than I knew it would be a lot, but maybe even more than that. Lonzo gives us a sports flash.
I consider it an evil chuckle. The Carolina Panthers are back to 500 after a 17-7 home loss to the Saints. Don't do it. Bryce Young was held to 17-25 for 124 yards and one interception, while the Panthers only rushed for 73 yards, including 53 on 18 carries for Rico Dowdle. Saints rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck completed 19-27 for 282 yards and a pair of touchdowns, and the Saints rushed for over 100 yards for the first time since week 4. It's 4 consecutive wins for the Carolina Hurricanes with a 5-4 win over the Maple Leafs. All 5 goals were scored by different Canes, including Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis, and Logan Stankoven. The AP poll is out with Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Alabama, and Georgia remaining in an unchanged top 5. Ole Miss and Oregon swap spots at 6 and 7. Texas Tech and Notre Dame are each up a spot to 8 and 9, with Texas jumping 3 spots into the top 10. Didn't do that story not because of the Oreos, but I've been wanting to do the AP story, but he keeps leading into the end of the hour with AP, and I don't think it's good to do the same story that was just done, so I switched things up.
How would you react if you found an extra $10 in your pocket every month? You'd be happy, right? Your friends at Greenville Federal Credit Union can make it happen. With the Kasasa Cashback checking account from Greenville Federal Credit Union, you'll get up to $10 cash back on debit card purchases and refunds on ATM withdrawal fees. Nationwide.
Someday you'll look back and go, hey, remember when that Lonzo guy was on the air and he talked about Oreos? All right, probably not, but you might. Yes, but will you eat the Thanksgiving flavored Oreos, Stephen? Turkey flavored Oreo? Gravy flavored Oreo? I think the other cranberry that works. I forget what the other one was.
So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on. Visit CordellCordell.com to schedule your consultation. If you or anyone you care about is facing divorce, contact Cordell and Cordell today. With over 100,000 clients served, we understand the challenges you're facing.
I would try any of those flavors before I would try the Baja Blast Pie from Taco Bell. It just looks like something. It looks like something from an 80s horror film. Like The Stuff or Ooze or something. So yeah, I'm eating those turkey Oreos. I am not eating the Baja Blast Pie. Which costs $20, by the way, for an entire pie.
Yeah,
at
you
Taco
can only
Bell.
buy the whole pie, right?
Yeah.
I saw that.
We talked about this Saturday and I said I will not subject us to that. There's just something about how it looks that I can't make myself do it. This is from a guy who ate haggis and ranch ice cream, but I cannot make myself eat that.
I still can't get over dudes punching other dudes who are wearing helmets. And if you are going to punch another dude wearing a helmet, in the helmet, you don't go for the uppercut. You don't go for the jaw. You don't go for the Rocky. Get up under the chin strap.
Or ear hole. I mean, ear hole can. If you've ever been hit,
that's the hardest part of the helmet.
No. What I'm saying is maybe a slap to the ear hole. Have you ever had anyone slap your ear hole while your helmet's on?
Yes. Do you know? Yes.
That's
you're still hitting the hardest part of the helmet. Like, no, don't punch a guy with a helmet. And if you're going to punch a guy with a helmet, punch him somewhere else that's not wearing a helmet. Like if you are going to get ejected because you are going to cheap shot a dude, hit him in the gut. Hit him in the gut. Hit him where there's not, a friggin' helmet. What about what? How do we? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think we all sometimes do dumb things in the heat of the moment, right? Especially out of anger. All right. Some of us understand the drive to anger, especially for those people who aren't like, I'm not an angry person. I am very rarely angry. I do get angry, but it's very, very rare that I was angry one day last week because of a set of circumstances. And I have learned over the years that for me, it doesn't take me long to get unangry. But when I am angry, I tend to pop off.
Yeah. One way to get unangry is just to leave the room that I'm in. So, I mean, there's that.
The reason I was angry last week did involve work, but it didn't have anything to do with Lonzo. It was just an unfortunate set of circumstances. But the unfortunate set of circumstances
was not my fault.
Was not Lonzo. It wasn't. I don't know that it was anybody's fault, but they did happen. I got angry. Effectively, if you missed it, we had an opportunity to do a virtual interview, a stream interview with two-time WWE Women's U.S. Champion Chelsea Green. The Rob Brown Show bump is not just alive, ladies and gentlemen. It is alive and very, very well right now because not only did Chelsea Green regain her Women's U.S. Championship two-time, literally the week we did the interview, but Jade Cargill cut the best promo she's ever cut in WWE when she walked out and said, "I'm that."
Yeah, it's just the return of her AEW character, but that's fine.
Which was the best version of Jade Cargill, in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion. Point is, the Rob Brown Show bump is alive and very well. But unfortunately, we had the opportunity to chat face-to-face with Chelsea Green. We lost it. We had to do it via phone. I was really angry. And what I've learned over the years is, for me, when I get genuinely angry, the best course of action inevitably and every time is to remove myself from the scene, from the circumstances, go somewhere, do a little light meditation, a few breathing exercises, count to 10, 3, 4 times.
Incense involved?
No, it's not quite Kyrie level.
Okay.
But
All
like,
right. Well,
you
get
know,
that sage and get that bad mojo out of there.
sometimes it's go pour myself a double Jack and Coke, whatever. Like, just take a minute. And then once you've calmed down and adjusted yourself, then to go back to the situation and then to address the situation from a more calmer and rational point of view. I get doing stuff out of anger is a dumb way to do it. I can tell you, in the angriest moments of my life, never have I thought I should punch the hardest surface I can find. I've done that one time. And maybe this is Darren Payne's lesson. I had to learn the lesson. I did it one time. I was 25 years old. It was quite literally within like 5 minutes of my dad passing away, which was the biggest, most shocking, emotional thing that's ever happened to me. I was 25. My dad was not even old. He was in his early 50s. And I punched a brick wall. And I broke 2 bones in my hand. 2 in the same time. Broke 2 bones in my hand. I learned very quickly. Yeah, like that's the fastest way to get anger out of the system. But like, get a heavy bag or something, man. Right? Like, go punch a pillow. Put a pillow in the air and punch that. Like, hit something, not that. Like, that was the line.
Or when you get older, just go get a video game and kill a bunch of stuff.
Whatever.
And you feel better.
I have also popped on Madden and beaten the Falcons by 212 points in one game. Whatever it takes. Just don't punch it.
It's definitely a stress reliever and less painful.
All right. We got a lot more that I would like to get to across the sporting landscape, including some. Yesterday was a weird day in the NFL. I mean, it started off on weird. That game started off weird on Thursday with that Denver-Vegas game, which is got to be one of the ugliest football games I've ever watched in my life. We opened it up with Colts-Falcons from Berlin, Germany on Sunday morning. 31-25. The Colts get the win. Jonathan Taylor with the walk-off touchdown. Able to go with a 3-minute, 58-second drive. They get to overtime. They go on a 3-minute, 58-second drive that ends with a John Taylor 8-yard touchdown, and Atlanta falls to 3-6. There are teams in the National Football League. There are teams that are disappointing because of the expectations. There are teams that you're like, all right, like Buffalo losing to Miami. Disappointing? Yeah. Has Buffalo failed to meet the mark? No, not really. Like, I had questions about this team coming into the year. I think they're a good team.
To win games, you have to win the game, not lose the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a good team.
But
6-3.
Buffalo forgot that.
For a minute there. They lose to now 3-7 Miami. I think the AFC North at large is a disappointment right now. The Steelers 5-4, despite a horrendous, ugly loss yesterday, still lead that division. The Ravens 4-5. Of course, they were missing Lamar Jackson for a number of weeks, but still nowhere near what we expected. There are some other teams we are disappointed by. I don't know if it's fair to say the Chiefs at 5-4 are disappointing. They are on a bit of a heater right now. And of course, Arrowhead is a fortress. They're 4-1 at home. It's been road games that have been a problem. But I got to say, I put the Falcons in that group, right? Because even if you look at them through the lens of, as I did, they are absolutely good enough to win the division, but I won't pick them to win the division until they win the division. Atlanta at 3-6 has got to be wildly disappointing. Now, again, I don't let the games in Europe set the narrative for a team. Like, are they part of it? Sure. But I don't let the games in Europe set the tone for a team because there's a million variables that you don't deal with when you're talking about home games.
They count.
I don't disagree. But there are variables that go into these games that even if you're playing cross-continental games in the United States, you don't have to consider. Now, the team's going to do most of the things, but like players still have to make sure that their passports are good. The jet flights end up where, when you fly to New York to LA, you're talking about a 4-hour difference. When you fly from, especially if you fly from Indianapolis or Atlanta to Berlin, Germany. You were talking about skipping time ahead 8-9 hours, whatever it is. Like there's all these variables. You're in a country. Yeah, again, teams taking care of most everything, but you're in a country where almost not exclusively, Europeans are very good about also knowing English, but most of the country speaks, advertises, broadcasts in a completely different language. There's a lot of variables. That being said, at the end of the day, you're still playing 4 quarters, and in this case, 4 quarters in overtime of football. And I think it's fair to say Atlanta is on the disappointing side of the conversation. The Saints, I expected to be 2-8 through 10. Atlanta, not at all. Bears 24-20 winners over the Giants. Jackson Dart, after starting 19 of 29 for 242 yards, had to leave that game with a concussion. Russell Wilson came in at about midway through the fourth quarter. I was like, Russ, dog, you might want to retire in the postgame press conference, honestly. Like, that was atrocious. Granted, a lot of it was because dude hadn't played football in, 6 weeks, and then was just very suddenly thrown into a game. But, like, just step out, man. Like, at this point, if I'm a Giants fan, if Jackson Dart's going to miss time, 1,000% I want Jameis Winston in there, right? Because if this is what we're going to be with a backup quarterback in, at least give me somebody who is entertaining. Caleb Williams, 20 of 36, 220 and a touchdown. Also had 8 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown, and was a bit of an awkward dive shy of having 2 rushing touchdowns in that game. 30-13 Dolphins over the Bills. What are Miami? What are a Dolphins? I don't know what to do with this team now. This is a team that's won 2 out of the last 3. The only one they lost was to the re-energized Baltimore Ravens with Lamar back, but they beat the Falcons on the road. They beat the Bills like a drum yesterday. Held the Bills. James Cook has been one of the better running backs in the NFL. Held that guy to 53 yards. They held the Bills as an entity to 87.
Bills maybe carry over from beating Chiefs last week?
I mean, like, the hangover might be what's to blame here, but Devon Achane had 174 rushing yards. The criticism for this Bills team to me has been their defense, specifically against the runs, paper thin. Like, that was my takeaway from the game against Kansas City last week. Was I was shocked that Kansas City did not run the ball more/better. I don't understand why Kansas City didn't run the ball more/better in the face of that. Is how the Saints almost beat Buffalo a few weeks ago. They just ran the ball. The Saints ran for $122 yesterday. It was the first 100-yard game that they have had since Buffalo, and that was only because, again, running through the Buffalo Bills defense is like running through wet toilet paper. This team, I will go on the record now. The Buffalo Bills cannot win the Super Bowl this year. They can't, because they can't stop the run. And there are at least 3 or 4 teams in the AFC alone that can make the playoffs that have a stout running game. If Kansas City bumps into Buffalo in the playoffs, Mahomes might throw 15 passes in that game, because it better be just running the ball. Ravens 27-19 winners over the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy was back for Minnesota. 20 of 42, 248, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and 18.6 QBR. Problem was, he was also the leading rusher for the Vikings. 5 totes, 48 yards. Aaron Jones had 9 for 47. Jordan Mason, 4 for 25. I love Kevin O'Connell as a head coach in the NFL. I love Kevin O'Connell and what that guy is, I think, capable of doing as an HC. Minnesota's going to have to find a quarterback, because I think we were right. I don't think J.J. McCarthy's it. I just don't think he's that guy. Jets get by the Browns 27-20. One of my best bets from last Friday was the over in this game, because I don't think either one of these offenses is as bad as it's made out to be. That being said, how do the Jets win a game where Justin Fields goes 6 of 11 for 54 yards, a touch and a pick, a QBR of 15.9, and the Jets as a team rushed for $127, which in and of itself is like, okay, 127 on the ground team-wise is not awful, but they let the Browns run for 158. Dylan Gabriel, 17 of 32, 167, 2 touchdowns, and they lost that game. This is more on the Browns than the Jets to me. How do you do that? How do you have a game where the Jets have one passing touchdown, no rushing touchdowns, and score 27 points? That is 7 points of offense accumulated by the offense. A passing tutty, 0 rushing touchdowns. How do you do that? How do you score 27 points against the Browns when you have one offensive touchdown? Browns football at its finest, people. Just absolutely at its finest. Patriots get the Buccaneers on the road 28-23. This one, I don't want to say it was a wild win. Drake May was good. 16 of 31, 270, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Baker Mayfield, 28 of 43, 273, 3 touchdowns. Another situation of how do you lose that game? Part of it is your leading rusher, Sean Tucker, 9 for 53. I don't understand how Rachaad White has 10 carries for 38 yards in this game. That doesn't do it for me. That does not make any sense to me in that one. No defensive touchdown for the Patriots either. Trevion Henderson had 14 for $147 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that'll do it. That'll win you the game.
Including that long run where, he eventually was all on his own and he looked back to find out if he should score or not.
69 yards. Nice run from Trevion Henderson there. Yeah, I look, Tampa Bay is not a Super Bowl team either. They can't lose that game. You can't lose that game against the Patriots when that's what and the Patriots were good in this game, but you can't lose that game. Jags 29-36 losers to the Houston Texans. Y'all, everything I thought about the Jags, not it. At one point in this game, the Jaguars led 29-10. They let the Texans score 26 fourth quarter points. And here's the frustrating part about this. What I thought about the Jags isn't true, and I don't think it's because of the Jags offense. The Jags had a 29-10 lead in the fourth quarter, and they allowed 26 fourth quarter points. And let me be clear, not just to the Texans.
Throw an interception?
Through one.
Yeah.
Not just to the Texans, but to the Texans with Davis Mills as their. This isn't C.J. Stroud and the Texans. This was Davis Mills and the Texans.
Davis Mills has a ton of experience, maybe some more experience than some of the other starting quarterbacks in the league.
There is zero reason you have a 29-10 lead in the fourth quarter and lose that game to the Texans. None. 0, not a 9. And it is on the defense. Now, again, I do have to point out, because the equipment you are asked to perform the job with often is a part of the reason that the job is or is not performed to satisfaction. There is no Travis Hunter in this game. There is no Brian Thomas Jr. in this game. The top 2 wide receivers in this game were out for Jacksonville, and their number 1 wide receiver was Jacoby Myers, who had been on the team for 3 days at that point. Trevor Lawrence was not given anything close to a top flight wide receiver core to work with here. It just wasn't. And that is part of it. But still, you build a 29-10 lead. Your mostly healthy defense has got to figure out a way to hold that. You can't give up 26 in the fourth quarter. It's just unacceptable. 44-22, the Seahawks just all up over the Arizona Cardinals. 198 rushing yards for Seattle's Cabernet. Had 14 totes for 83 and a touchdown. Sam Darnold, 10 of 12. Once they threw the ball 12 times. They ran it 46 times and scored 44 points. They had, 2 rushing touchdowns. Sam Darnold threw for 1, and the rest was all turnovers. Jacoby Brissett wasn't bad either. 50%, 22 of 44, 258, 2 touchdowns. I don't think Kyler Murray's getting his job back, to be honest with you. I don't think he can. Rams 42-26 over the 49ers. Mac Jones, here's the thing. Let me ask you this sincerely. Does Brock Purdy get his job back when he comes back? Mac Jones, 33 of 39, 319, 3 touchdowns in this game. I don't think you give Brock Purdy his job back, honestly. Oh, you can't lose it due to injury. You're damn right you can. And I think Brock Purdy had to. Mac Jones has been a dog, man. 44-22 Lions over the Commanders, 25-10. The Chargers just make the Steelers look awful last night. We got some more thoughts that I will share with you on the NFL, as well as some more college football thoughts. We got to get into this baseball gambling story and more. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Stay right there, guys. We'll be RB. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the fan upstate, Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. This is, to me, very interesting. The NFL MVP odds have had a big time shake up over the past couple of weeks. You have a new shortest odds getter for the MVP award as they stand right now. Your top six, or I should say shortest six odds havers in the NFL MVP race right now. You have a two-way tie for the shortest odds at 3-1 this morning. According to BetMGM, Matt Stafford and Drake May are your MVP leaders. You have a two-way tie for second shortest odds between Jonathan Taylor of the Colts and Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs. Josh Allen has fallen down to 7-1, and Sam Darnold is now 10-1. To be honest, Sam Darnold is probably the one of these things is not like the other's name here. I think Sam Darnold's playing good football, and I would even go so far as to say I probably owe Sam Darnold some degree of an apology because I really did not think Sam Darnold, like I thought Sam Darnold was going to kind of prove the theory that decent quarterbacks are made to look really good playing for the Vikings because of an incredible set of skill position players, and B, I think Kevin O'Connell understands quarterbacks. But JJ McCarthy's not doing that. Or maybe, like I said this yesterday to a friend of mine, maybe it's also possible that JJ McCarthy is really that bad, right? Like, what if this is his elevated status? But that's a different conversation. Sam Darnold is a reason the Seahawks are division leaders. Do I think he's the reason? No, not really. Like, I think he's playing well enough. Again, like if he was even though they put up 44 and they didn't have to do it more, and maybe this is just me being greedy. If Sam Darnold was a like legitimate NFL MVP frontrunner, I don't care if you're blowing him out. You're not throwing the ball. Would they throw it 14 times yesterday? I think he's like, even if it's a blowout, you're still going to see 22, 23 passes, not 14 out of the guy. But that being said, he's on the list. How about Drake May being 3-1 shortest odds to win, the shortest odds to win the MVP after the Patriots went down and handed it to the NFC South division leading Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Drake May in that game, 16 of 31, so just a tick over 50%, but 270, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Travion Henderson, and this is, I guess, why I'm a little shocked by that. I think Drake May is playing good quarterback. This is not to take away from Drake May and what he is doing for the Pats right now, because it's good. It's impressive. Through 13 games, a 71.7 completion percentage so far. He's at 2,500 yards. He has already well surpassed last year's total. 19 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. He's been sacked 35 times. He has a season rating of 113.9, a season QBR of 72.9. It's a good year. It's a good year. They won that game yesterday because Travion Henderson carried 14 times for 147 yards and scored twice. That's why they won this game. I'm going to say I'm shocked by that, but I am a little shocked. Matt Stafford, on the other hand, I think we could have a conversation about. Matt Stafford is a dude that I think is very much primed to be in this spot. 4 touchdown passes yesterday. Didn't he have a game where he threw 5 earlier this season? Matt Stafford's killing it right now. And for a Rams team that finds themselves at 7-2, for a Rams team that finds themselves hovering at the top of the NFC West, they are right now tied with the Seahawks, courtesy of the Rams win over the Niners yesterday. It is now a 2-team tie at the top of that division between Seattle and LA. Matt Stafford is that guy right now. He's that dog. 4 touchdown passes, 280 on 24 of 36. But I do think there's another quarterback to talk about. And I asked this question at the end of the last segment. I'll ask it again here because I'm curious about the football philosophy of many of you members of the Armada. Mac Jones, in a losing effort, 33 of 39, 3 touchdown passes, 1 pick, responsible for three of the offensive touchdowns for the 49ers yesterday. Brian Robinson Jr. carried 8 for 41. He scored 1 on the ground. The other 3 all came from Mac Jones. And he spread the ball out yesterday. There were 9 different 49ers receivers. Like, I love looking at a quarterback having a day, like 33 of 39 for 319 and 3 touchdowns in a game that they were in. It was 21-7 at the break. I think the Niners got back into it, made it 21-14 at one point before LA really ran away with it. San Francisco did score twice in the fourth quarter, had to go for 2s, didn't get them. But I don't know, man. Like, this is why I have said the system, as much as the phrase system quarterback is thrown around as if it is a negative, I don't think it is. In fact, if you have a system quarterback and they are winning, I think you got to give a lot of credit to the guy who is developed and is implementing the system. And in this case, it's Kyle Shanahan. This is why I've been saying for 2 years now, I don't think Brock Purdy is a top flight quarterback in the NFL. I think Brock Purdy's good. I don't think Brock Purdy is the reason the 49ers have been hanging out at the top of the NFC West for a number of years in a row. I think he's good. I think Brock Purdy, I think if you took him and dropped him on most teams, those teams aren't inherently and automatically getting better because of Brock Purdy. And the fact that you took Mac Jones, and again, I also would like to point out that Mac Jones is the most recent addition to the list of, maybe Rob's got a point when he says, don't hang all the failures of future franchise quarterback on quarterback. Maybe sometimes hang the failure of future franchise quarterback on franchise. Mac Jones might be proving that point because he was in New England when New England was trying to get out from the shadow of Tom Brady. It was horrendous. I think at this point, at least I would hope to think at this point, that many of, not most of you, would agree with me now. It was Tom Brady who won in New England because as soon as he left, Belichick sucked. And he got run out of town, a town that he won 6 Super Bowls in. He got run out of town. He goes to Carolina, and he stinks there too. Granted, it's college, not pro, but the point stands. And then Mac Jones, who was a part of that resurgence, wasn't. And then he goes to Jacksonville. Everybody's like, oh, how did he not show up to Jacksonville and make noise? The answer is because at the time that he showed up to Jacksonville, they were a dumpster fire of a franchise too, which is why I'm not, and I might be the only one in the NFL watching talkosphere, why I'm not giving up on Trevor Lawrence either, because I put it on the franchise. This is the first year that I have trusted Jacksonville as a franchise not to crap all over their own kitchen tables. And they've had some spots where they've looked good. Again, missing not their top 1, but their top 2 wide receivers yesterday. This team had a 29-10 lead going into the fourth quarter. Then they crapped all over the kitchen table because the defense is a joke, but not the point. They didn't bring in a defensive guy as the head coach. So this is why I'm not done with Trevor Lawrence. This is why I firmly believe, like, you know what I would love to see? It can't happen because the resources just aren't there for either team to make the move. You know what I'd like to see happen? I'd like to see Trevor Lawrence in Minnesota next year. I'd like to see Trevor Lawrence in Minnesota because I think with Kevin O'Connell and with actual wide receivers, which he's had this year, he's played above years gone by. But again, you want to talk about the most egregious version of this is a true rookie year? This is Trevor Lawrence's rookie year, in my opinion. So I'd love to see him in a place like in Minnesota or in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan. Granted, they're hooked up, but you get the point. So I don't put it out there. But Mac Jones is the most recent addition, in my opinion, to the blame the franchise, not the quarterback, in the phrase franchise quarterback. Because Mac Jones is out here killing the game right now. It is not because of Mac Jones that they lost 42-26 yesterday. Mac Jones against a good Rams defense did everything he could possibly do and then a little bit more to win that game, and the defense screwed him up. So, I don't know, man, but as far as, taking that back to Mac Jones can't be on this list because he's only played X amount of games. Drake May at 3-1 doesn't feel like the right bet to me. Good quarterback. Do we think Drake May is the reason New England's winning? Remember, the MVP is you are the most important reason that your team is winning. I don't think Drake May is the most important reason that the Patriots are winning the game. I think Matt Stafford is the most important reason that the Rams are winning games. Right now, my MVP vote has got to go to Matt Stafford. I think it's better than John Taylor, who didn't break out until, 3 or 4 games ago. I think it's not Patrick Mahomes, who was leading a 5-4 football team and did not play his best football or anywhere close to it to open the season. Josh Allen, like the Bills may not be where the Bills are without Josh Allen, but I got hammered by Miami yesterday. It's hard for me to say that anybody's going to lose to Miami and get this award. And like I said, I like Sam Darnold. I'm glad to see Sam Darnold doing what he's doing, but I don't think he is the reason that the Seahawks are tied for the top of that division right now with the Rams. I do think Matt Stafford is. All right, let's take a break. Got a few more thoughts I want to hit very quickly on the baseball gambling story from the weekend. I want to talk about Lane Kiffin because he's my favorite now and a whole lot more. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, let me hit the restroom real quick. Y'all stay right there. We'll be right back. Wrapping up the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you. If you want to sneak in here before the end of the show, now's your opportunity. 844-326-3663. 844-FANFONE is the number to be a part of the radio program. We'd be glad to have you. Got a few more thoughts I wanted to give. If you missed it, Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase are pitchers were pitchers for the Cleveland Guardians. Clase was removed from the roster for the Guardians earlier this year because it was investigated and he was accused of throwing pitches intentionally in order to allow people to win prop bets. They call them micro bets, micro props in games. Effectively, you can bet on at a lot of sports books. You can bet on certain spots where the result of any one individual action within a game is going to hit a certain outcome, right? So you could bet that a player will make or miss their first free throw, or that the first, and this is what Clase got bumped for, the first pitch of any given inning will be a ball or it will be a strike. So Clase was talking with bettors, and in talking with bettors, he was saying, all right, first pitch of this inning, I'm going to throw a ball. And those bettors would go bet, $20,000 and win $100,000 by doing this in 2 or 3 spots over the course of the inning. Luis Ortiz picked up on that. The story about Emmanuel Clase goes back to the investigation into Clase goes back to 2023. Luis Ortiz apparently got into that racket about a year ago. And both of those guys have now been indicted for rigging pitches so bettors could profit off of prop bets. And the craziest part to me about this story is that they were doing this for like $5,000 a pitch, right? Now, in fairness, because the gut reaction that I had to this, the gut reaction I had was Emmanuel Clase just threw away tens of millions of dollars because that guy is not coming back to the league. Luis Ortiz just threw away probably tens of millions of dollars because he's not coming back to the league. Even if they were to be cleared of these charges, I can't imagine a team is going to roll the dice on those guys keeping their nose clean in the future. But then I thought about it. I'm like, all right, if Clase was to do this like 2 innings, 3 innings a game when he goes out, that guy could be making $10,000, $15,000 additional dollars every time he goes to the bump. And if he's bringing in 10, 15K every time he goes to the bump, let's say he goes out, I don't know, 30, 40 times in a season. Like, do the math, right? You could be looking at $300,000-$400,000 a year if he was doing it every game. And if he was doing just 2 innings, let's say 2 innings a game every time out at $5K a pitch, that guy could be bringing in $300,000 annually just throwing a ball on the start of every first and third inning that he pitches, or second and fourth inning that he pitches every time out. So here's where I think the future goes of this story. If you are Major League Baseball, then I think one of the spots you have to go for here, assuming that they have been indicted, assuming that they are investigated fully and found guilty, if it is proven that this is the case. And again, there's the old phrase, you can indict a ham sandwich. But ordinarily, from what I've read so far, ordinarily a case like the one that has been brought against Clase and Ortiz is not brought with the intensity and by federal prosecutors the way that it has been brought if they don't feel like they've got a damn strong case against you. which it looks like is the case here. So I was thinking about this last night. How do we attack this story? Like, what's the future hold? And my thought was this: assuming Major League Baseball is going to allow this to go forward, which I can't imagine there's any reason that they wouldn't, assuming that these guys are found guilty and are going to be subject to discipline. They are, right now, each of them, Clase and Ortiz both, they are both facing multiple 20-year sentences for their crimes. And to the best of my understanding, I am not an attorney, nor did I stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night. I was way too dumb for law school. My understanding via some conversations that I have had so far is this: the way that these charges are being stacked and will be prosecuted, the most likely outcome is that the 20-year sentences, of which they are each facing 3 different 20-year sentences, charges with a 20-year sentence attached. The way that I have been told is that it is likely these sentences will be, it will be requested that these sentences run consecutively, not concurrently. Meaning that once they are in the pokey for a year, that is 1 year towards one 20-year sentence. In year number 21, that will be the first year towards the second 20-year sentence. And when they are in year number 41, that will be the first year towards the third 20-year sentence. Meaning that if they got the full punishment, if they ran consecutively, and if they are required to serve out the duration of their sentence, these guys could be in jail for 60 plus years. They could be 84, 85 years old before they get out of jail for what they did here. Here's the thought that I have if I'm in the position of Rob Manfred, if I'm in the position of Major League Baseball, pardon me. If I'm in the position of Major League Baseball, as much as traditionally, as much as most of the time, they do not get involved with the disciplinary side of things, as much as they don't get involved with the sentencing aspect here. If I was Major League Baseball, I think I would very much make a push to argue for Clase and Ortiz both getting the most harsh penalty available. If I was Major League Baseball, I think I would go out, if I was Rob Manfred, and I would have one of my attorneys go to the hearing, and if the judge allows any sort of open commentary about it, if I was Major League Baseball, I would do the best I could to have the argument be, give them the max sentence. Give them the max sentence and make sure that they must serve at least a third of it, 20 years, before they're even eligible for parole. Now, do I think that what these guys did deserves 60 years in prison? Them living out half their 20s, their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, and half their 80s in prison? Not necessarily. I think that's kind of a big deal. But if I'm Major League Baseball, I'm going to make the push for that to happen. And if I'm Major League Baseball, I'm going to make the push for that to happen for one reason and one reason alone. I would make the push for that to happen so that I can go back into locker rooms around Major League Baseball and I can say, hey, dudes, we're not kidding. Do not gamble. Do not tilt contest. Do not tilt micro prop winners. Do not do any of this. Because if you do, not only can you end up in a spot where you might go to jail and go to jail for a very long time, but you might go to jail and go to jail for a very long time, and we will do everything in our gosh dang rootin' tootin' power to make sure that you get into jail for a very long time. there is the thought that, the belief that there is some level of fear of retribution, fear of punishment. It is one thing if the belief is the punishment is a slap on the wrist. This is why I said, even though he's dead, baseball would regret letting Pete Rose back into baseball, even as a dead guy. Because if you'll do it as a dead guy, somebody with a really strong argument can get baseball to do it to you when you're still an alive guy and you can profit off of it. There is a big difference between we will banish you from life for Major League Baseball, and then like Pete Rose, you can tour the country selling books, signing autographs, taking pictures, and make $1 gazillion a year off of it. And if you do this, you'll spend 60 years in prison, including, by the way, every one of your prime time years in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. And we will ensure we do everything in our power to make that happen. Baseball has no choice. If these guys are found guilty, and if they go through a sentencing process, Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball need to, despite how infuriated it is going to make the Major League Baseball Players Association, they need to go out and bust hump to make sure these guys get absolutely every single second of prison time that they can get, so that it becomes the best possible deterrent to prevent other players from doing it. Because if it gets as widespread as it feels like it has in the National Basketball Association, baseball will not have the runway that the NBA does to avoid the crap that will come barreling down the side of the mountain afterwards.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
All right, time to find out what is Xing. First thing that's Xing are the Marines.
Today, I believe, is the Marines' birthday. The U.S. Marines' birthday.
It is the Marines' birthday.
The U.S. Marines were established, and again, it depends on what you give full credit to. My grandfather was a Marine. That is how I know a lot of this. It is officially recognized as November 10th, 1775, if I recall correctly. And it was established with the Continental Congress declared the establishment of the Continental Marines, but the Continental Marines broke up after the conclusion of the Revolutionary War, and then the Marine Corps, as we know it today, was established in the late 1790s, like 97, 1798, something like that. But because the first group of Marines, the Continental Marines, were established in 1775, were an intricate part of winning the Revolutionary War, that is what is recognized as the official birthday of the United States Marines. To those of you, once a Marine, always a Marine, Marine Corps veterans in the audience, semper fi to you.
Okay, the next thing that is Xing is we have an audio clue, something we've never done.
Oh, goodness. Okay. The wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Today, the anniversary of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And I got to tell you, first off, Gordon Lightfoot, incredible song. The story of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which, by the way, is a remarkably well-preserved wreck at the bottom of Lake, is it Michigan? Is Lake Michigan, I think it's in? Anyway.
He says which one. I thought it was Lake Huron, but it could be.
I don't remember.
It's one of them lakes.
So remarkably well-preserved, but it's actually been declared as a no-dive site. You can't just go there anymore because it's a graveyard. Fascinating. The bottom of the Great Lakes is so cold that the wildlife that would live down there that would ordinarily decompose a body doesn't exist there. So the bodies of the wreck, of the sailors aboard the wreck of the, it's still there. They're still, like, their bodies are still there. Anyway, today is the day, the anniversary of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And I will tell you, and this is not a joke, there's like 3 or 4 of the boys and I that are fascinated by this. We will be getting on Discord this evening to raise a glass to the sailors aboard the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald and listen to the song probably on repeat for some amount of time.
If you're a youngin' and you've never heard a song, listen to it. It's just
a beautiful song. It's tragic.
It's stirring. And I don't know why, if it's the effects or just, I mean, there's such a sadness to the song that you can't listen to it and just not feel it. So
it is said, never give up or dead when the skies of November turn gloomy.
All right. That happened nearly in Canada. So segue, Canada Dry is Xing.
Canada Dry is Xing. is Canada Dry, which is ginger ale, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
You've never had it before?
No, I have, because Rob Brown is a big whiskey and ginger guy too. That's been added to the repertoire. Whiskey and ginger, or, and I'll give you this hint for those of you that are mild imbibers like myself. If you want rum and ginger, it works. But you got to go with a dark rum, like a Myers dark is good. Kraken spicy works great. I'm a whiskey and ginger guy. And I do know that not terribly long ago, I believe it was Canada Dry, came out with Canada Dry Zero, which is a zero sugar ginger ale, which is a game changer for me. The ability to go zero sugar in the mixers is huge for me, because then I can go not zero sugar in the whiskey and the vodka and the rum.
It's trending because people are wanting to know which one, Canada Dry or Verner's.
That's a wonderful question, to which I don't really have a preference. Here's what I'll say. If I am just drinking ginger ale, which is very rare, and it's typically only when I am like when I got a little case of the rumbly tummies, then the little ginger ale doesn't hurt you. Usually that's straight to the Canada Dry. But the other one is probably better for the mixer because it's got a little bit more of a ginger taste to it, which if you put like whiskey in Canada, you lose a little bit of the ginger. I like that pop of ginger in my cocktail.
By the way, if you want to try something really fun, try shotgunning
No, don't. No, don't. Help me help you. Don't do that.
No, try it. No. Well,
trust me, don't.
Well, have somebody try it.
Again.
And then watch and enjoy.
Again, hear me out here. Don't do that. You will regret it. There's a reason Lonzo's telling you to do this.
I speak from experience, and it's an amazing
I bet you do.
experience. All right. And finally, the last thing that's Xing is Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor Xing because Jonathan Taylor walked off the Atlanta Falcons in overtime yesterday and is also playing the best football maybe of his career right now, to be honest with you. Like 5 consecutive games in a row, Jonathan Taylor has been the feature. Jonathan Taylor is now the shortest odds of any non-quarterback in the NFL, actually inside the top shortest 6 players in the NFL to win an MVP, and it's only getting better. It's only getting better for John Taylor.
Hey, we're not here tomorrow.
We are not here tomorrow. We will be celebrating Veterans Day tomorrow. So enjoy not having to listen to us, I guess. Or if you're going to miss us, then we'll see you back here Wednesday to do it all over again. I hope you have a phenomenal rest of your day. And we will see you back here on Wednesday for the next edition of the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. In the face of a hurricane west wind.
I should have finished with it, but I didn't know how long you were going to go with it because I know.
was going to see if I could Summertime came, the old cook came on deck saying, fellas, it's too rough to feed you. All right, I'm going to go listen to that song now. It's such a good song. Like it
is really.
It is the saddest song that I should not
By the way, so 1975, when it came out, I was 7.
I was -10.
I know, but it stirred me.
My parents hadn't even met yet.
It stirred me at 7. And it's
a great song.
Yeah, it just really.
I must stay on hall in Detroit. They prayed in the Maritime Sailors Cathedral. Church bell chimed till it rang 29 times for each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Who's Billy Strings? What?
Billy Strings is an incredible artist. You would love Billy Strings. Incredible singer-songwriter / most importantly, as it happens by the name, guitar player.
Okay. Strings as in okay.
As in a guitar.
All right. Yeah, I got you.
Oh man. You know what? I don't know that I've ever heard the Billy Strings cover of a Joey B. I'll give it a run. I will say this. Just based on the OG. It would take a hell of a performance to get past the Gordon Lightfoot version.
For sure.
That Gordon Lightfoot version it's one of the most perfect songs ever written, in my opinion. All right, that's it for us. I got to go play with computer stuff and try to figure out how to make my computer do things that it can't do. Fun. Have a great day. Goodbye.